light blue skies above. And down below on the field, here's Ken Rosenthal.
Joe, Phillies reliever David Robertson, a trade deadline acquisition, not on the team's Division Series roster. He leaped in celebration when Bryce Harper hit a home run in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series, strained his right calf. For the Braves, Tyler Matzik, such a valuable part of their World Series run last year, he is off the roster due to left elbow discomfort. However, Spencer Strider is on and expected to be available in some capacity for Game 3.
All right, Kenny. And the Phillies coming to bat for the first time in this series. Here's the lineup with the National League home run champ Kyle Schwarber leading off. Then Hoskins and Real Muto. Bryce Harper, even with his struggle, still a presence as the cleanup man. Nick Castellanos, first year in Philadelphia, has been a struggle. They hope he can get going here in the postseason. Alec Boehm's at third base hitting sixth. Segura with Vierling in center, and Edmundo Sosa draws the start at short instead of Bryson Stott. And they face off for the best that the Braves have. Max Fried, third of the National League with that 2.48 ERA.
Yeah, Max Fried has come into his own. Of course, this is now a veteran on their staff when it comes to experience in the postseason. Great fastball, curveball combination. He'll throw his slider. Here's the breakdown. But when Max Fried is throwing strikes and throwing strikes early, he is really difficult to hit with 2 strikes. Now he's going up against a lineup that takes a lot of pitches and works the count. So today's game is going to be about strikes early and whether or not Philadelphia strikes early in the count.
And game 1 in a 5-game series always extra important, but especially when you look at what the Phillies have lined up here for games 2 and 3 with Wheeler and Nola. This is a massive first game of this series.
It is, and I think first game series in a best of 5 is always the biggest game, and the statistics will show it. So look, it's a day game, it's beautiful weather. You got the argument's going to be this: would you rather come in on fire, upsetting the team like the Phillies, or have 5 days off knowing you get to set up your rotation? I think that narrative will be answered after this series.
All right, so here is Kyle Schwarber, leadoff man for this Phillies team in the postseason for the first time in 11 years. The National League home run champion, 46 in his first year in Philadelphia. Fried has his sign. He comes home, and off we go with a bouncing ball. First pitch put in play, and Matt Olson feeds Max Fried 1 pitch, 1 out.
That was a classic jump start visiting team, try to put a point on the board. And when you get a first pitch out in the postseason, I'm telling you, that's gold for a pitcher. Both pitchers are going to throw strikes. Both pitchers are going to face some guys with thunder. And the Philadelphia Phillies, who can command the inside part of the zone. That's where Max loves to go to. And there's some hitters on this club for Philadelphia that love the inside part of the plate.
And they've seen a bunch of Max Fried through the years, 4 times this season, as Rhys Hoskins climbs in. You know, the Phillies were built to outslug their problems. And what's interesting is that, especially in the wild card round, it was the pitching that told the story. You know, the defense still not good, but it's improved enough where it is good enough. The bats, though, have been missing the last few weeks. Hoskins skies one to left field that sends Grossman drifting to his right. 2 up and 2 down in his first inning. And you look at the wild card round, the top 5 in the order for the Phillies won a combined 3 for 36.
Yeah, that's a tough formula, and you would think that's a formula for you're going home. But their pitching was so good, it overcame that lack of production and timely hitting in the 9th inning. Think about that. They scored 6 runs and not looked back since and cruised. Well, 2-0 wasn't a cruise,
yeah,
but
it's a sweep.
Aaron Nola was doing his thing for the Philadelphia Phillies.
After Wheeler did in game 1, those 2 guys combined for 13 scoreless innings in those 2 games. And you mentioned the 6-run 9th inning. That was 6 of the 8 runs they scored in the series. Here's JT Realmuto, and there's strike 1 from Fried.
The rest is going to probably affect the hitters for the Atlanta Braves more than it will for the pitchers. These pitchers have emptied the tank, even though they didn't get to 200 innings. That rest of 5 days is really going to pay dividends for Max Fried.
1 ball, 1 strike, and beyond that for him, last time he pitched was 11 days ago, and he did it with a stomach bug. He said, I'm going to give it a go. I don't feel quite right. But he goes out, and biggest game of the year at that point for the Braves, faces the Mets, a run over 5 innings, and then lost his lunch. Left the game but ultimately put up a 10th consecutive start of 2 or fewer runs allowed. 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, that whole series set up the Braves for this kind of improbable situation, right? You don't think about sweeping a team, and that's what they had to do to get here to secure home field. Second best record to the Dodgers.
On a 2-1 pitch, Realmuto takes a strike, and it's 2-2. The Braves were 10.5 back at the end of May. They came charging back. They were nipping at the heels of the Mets for so much of the year. Finally overtook them late to get their 5th straight East Division title. Max Fried looking for a 1-2-3 first. That's a bouncing ball past a diving second baseman Arcia into right, and a base hit for Realmuto.
Realmuto can do that with the best of them. This is one of the best at his position, both offensively and defensively. 2 strikes, just gives up of himself a little bit, goes with the pitch. And the key for Max today, it's the ball. By the way, we wouldn't normally be talking about October, the ball jumping. I think it's going to jump today. Yeah. It's a warmer day here in Atlanta. Wind's blowing out to right. But Max is going to have to take care of the left-handers in this lineup. And what a daunting task that is for one of the best left-handed hitters, Bryce Harper. Even though he's not clicking, we mentioned that, he's always a swing away.
He got him going in game 2 of the wild card round with a home run on the first pitch that he saw. He's been swinging at that first pitch more than ever. He does here. Got tied up, strike 1.
I mean, you think about the year he was having before he got hurt. Now, yeah, he couldn't play the field because of the elbow issue, but he was having a fantastic year. And then to have that bad break literally happen to him. You see the numbers since returning. You can just tell the timing's just a little bit off for one of the best in baseball.
Reigning MVP slashes a line drive base hit to left center. And that's back-to-back 2-out hits for the Phillies. Realmuto goes first to third. It's another dynamic of this Phillies offense, an aggressive base running team, and that tees them up at the corners here.
Well, this is a good sign if you're a Phillies fan and you're in that dugout, because look, we know about his power, but he takes that pitch middle away and just stays on it and serves it the opposite way. And look, I've always said in a postseason, the hardest thing to do is get 3 clean outs, because everything's a rally. Especially at the home ballpark, the fans go crazy, and runner on that's the biggest difference between a regular season game and a postseason game. This feels like a tremendous threat that the Phillies have, although be it with 2 outs.
For Nick Castellanos, who swings at the first pitch and pumps it into right. That's down in front of Acuna, and 3 consecutive 2-out hits in the first inning have the Phillies on the board.
And that's how quick it can happen, right? I mean, the Phillies have come in here. I got to believe their confidence is at an all-time high. 2 quick outs, no big deal. And in 3 straight hits in an era where the home run ball in the postseason plays king.
And for Castellanos, I mean, we talk about Harper trying to get things going. Castellanos, I mean, he's somebody who in his first year with the Phillies has not looked like the guy we saw the last couple seasons. And you know how it goes. You get into the postseason, you can rewrite the whole story of your year. And he's off to a promising start with an RBI hit. Here's Alec Bohm swinging and missing.
Well, I mentioned early strikes, early success. So far, the game plan for the Phillies has been aggressive early, and they're making a lot of swings. They got outs early, but then they've gotten hits later in this inning. So watch to see how the cat and mouse game changes for the battery of the Braves and how they adjust facing what seems to be an aggressive lineup.
2 pitches, 2 swings, and 2 strikes. Max Fried's been the best pitcher in the National League this year with runners in scoring position and trying to retire one of the hottest Phillies hitters in Bohm. 0-2. Swatted to right. 4 consecutive 2-out hits. And a 2-0 lead for Philadelphia. Alec Bohm drives in Bryce Harper, and they've gotten 2 against Fried in the first inning.
Well, they tried to bury a fastball in, and it didn't get in quite enough. And a good job of hitting for Bohm, going the other way. And again, these are just not your classic lift, clean in place, swing for the moon swings. With 2 strikes, they've done a nice job battling and keeping this inning going, and what's now looking like a big threat for the Philadelphia Phillies.
2 on, 2 out, already 2 in the bank. Gene Segura watches a curve land for a strike. 11 years in the major leagues for Gene Segura, more than 1,300 games. Hadn't played in the postseason before this weekend in St. Louis, and after all that time waiting for his chance, he had the go-ahead hit in that 6-run 9th inning in Game 1. Pops one up. That is out of play, and it's 0-2.
Well, you know, again, postseason, such a different monster than regular season. He was 1 strike away from a 1-2-3 inning. 1 strike, and then he's 2 runs down and 4 hits later. It can happen that fast. You've got to find a way here with 2 strikes to get in the dugout and let your offense get you back on the board.
Castellanos at third, Bohm at first. Another 0-2 to Gene Segura. Bouncing ball to short. There's Dansby Swanson. That's the inning for the Phillies with a 2-out rally and a promising start to this division series. It's 2-0 as Atlanta comes to bat for the first time.
Yes, I do.
The bat already in a 2-0 hole in Game 1 of this division series. Ronald Acuna will lead things off for Brian Snitker, and then it's Dansby Swanson and Austin Riley, 3 straight All-Stars at the top of the order there. First-year Brave Matt Olson bats clean up. He hit 6 home runs in their last 9 games. Contreras and Darno, both All-Stars as well. Arcia, the rookie Harris, and Grossman out of the 9 spot. For the Phillies on the mound in this one in his 5th year, but his first one as a full-time member of the rotation is Ranger Suarez, and he makes his postseason debut here.
Yeah, we're going to find out. He seems like a cool customer, defends his position well. He's sneaky, boy. He can throw strikes. He changes directions east and west, and nothing's flashy, but nobody seems to get really good swings. The last couple starts against the Braves, he's had their number, and this is going to be, if he's successful, a lot of ground balls, a lot of fast action early, and strikes. He likes to throw a lot of strikes.
Yeah, just 1 run allowed against the Braves over his last 3 starts. And he's got a strike to Ronald Acuna, who is eager to make his impact on the postseason. Of course, one of the subplots to the Braves' run to the World Championship last year was that they did it without Acuna, who tore his ACL in mid-July. He rifles this one through the left side and into the corner. Extra bases for Acuna to open the Braves' side of this division series.
Well, I was just getting ready to say that the one area Acuna hasn't been locked in is the inside part of the plate. He owned it when his timing was right and his knee was healthy. He had power to all parts of the field. They try to sneak a ball inside, and a good job of getting the barrel of the bat to the ball and a double. Acuna has been like Harper, just a click off in his timing. 2 good signs for what we mentioned in the open. Both clubs are desperately wanting to get their superstar going.
And 2 guys where you wouldn't be one bit surprised if they looked like MVP caliber players this week.
That's exactly right. Well, this Braves offense has a lot of power, does have some swing and miss. And again, that 5 days is what people are going to be talking about if their offense sputters at all.
Dansby Swanson, who has taken the torch from Freddie Freeman, is the longest tenured Brave. And it's amazing kind of the path that his career's taken. This is the former 1st overall pick of the draft of the Diamondbacks. He got traded here to his hometown team. And in the eyes of Braves fans, he was going to be the savior. They were still not good at that point. Comes up, struggles at first. Some people said he's a bust. Settles in as a nice piece. Last few years, he has been exceptional.
He has, and timing is everything for where his future is headed. And the future's unknown right now, but right now what he feels like is he's one of the top shortstops in the league. Defensively, no one's question. Offensively, he's gone to the next level. His power numbers. He doesn't really miss too many pitches middle to middle in, and I think that first one that he fouled off was for show, because that's how they want to get him out. You got to show in to get him out away. You can't stay away the entire time. with any big league hitter anymore.
Yeah, he's hitting just 193 on pitches away. All the damage this year coming on those pitches middle and in. He's got Acuna at second and a 2-0 game in this first inning. He swings and misses, and it's 2-2.
And that's going to be the pitch for Suarez if he's successful for Philadelphia. It's that changeup that stands over the middle of the plate and dives away. He throws enough strikes with his fastball. You got to respect it, but that is a weapon. Good curveball to accomplish to accompany that changeup.
27-year-old from Venezuela, home with a 2-2. Swanson pokes it down the line, foul. Well, we mentioned it for Ranger Suarez last couple times out against these Braves, which came very recently. Yeah. He's been good.
Yeah, I watched the film of those two games, and it was kind of effortless. Like, there was really nothing that you look at and go, he just didn't throw anything over the middle of the plate. He picked the corners. He got in, out, up, down. He did everything you got to do to quiet a good offense.
Another 2-2, and he gets Swanson, who fouls it into the glove, one away. And Suarez, really an improbable rise to a postseason start here. This is a guy who signed for next to nothing in Venezuela, spent a few years at their Venezuelan academy, and pretty much beat the odds just by getting into actual minor league baseball off of the academy in the United States. Kept on impressing people by what you're talking about, attacking the zone, throwing strikes, inducing ground balls, and then put it all together last year when he had the best ERA in the majors. That is low to Austin Riley.
Well, that late sinker action right there, and that could have been a strike. That is what his he pitches off of. You know, it's not 98, doesn't pop the mitt, but it pops the hitter's eyes. And what I mean by that, it gets on the hitter quicker than they can anticipate, and they get the top half of the ball and ground out.
Top of the zone here, and so home plate umpire David Rackley didn't give him the low strike, but he does give him the top of the zone.
I'd say if he had his wish, he'd want the bottom part of the strike zone versus the top of the strike zone, because then his changeup comes back into play. Hard throwers want the top half of the strike zone that use a curveball.
Too high. He's back there and misses. 2-1 on Austin Riley, who's gotten better and better himself and was rewarded on August 1st with the largest contract in this organization's history. Braves third baseman takes ball 3. That's 3 straight pitches to the top of the zone and a 3-1 count.
And that's good discipline, even though you got a strike called on you. For Riley, he knows his power stroke is middle down in their third of the strike zone, and he's definitely looking to lift this ball right here. I think the ball's going to go to right field, right center today.
There's one in that direction, but foul. And it's full on Riley, who hit 38 home runs during the regular season.
Postseason baseball, the challenge in this count, if you're a pitcher and you know the guy doesn't want to walk, you throw a changeup or a curveball here. If you're the hitter and you can stay disciplined, you pass the baton on to the next guy if it's not in the zone. But if you want to make things happen, you'll expand the zone, and there'll be more swing and miss in postseason than in the regular season.
Both these lineups very aggressive. Acuna started this inning with a double. He's at second with 1 away. Ranger Suarez to Austin Riley with a 3-2 pitch. He took that fastball outside. Yeah, and it's a walk there at first and second.
And that's what you have to do. I mean, honestly, if you look at a lineup card, you can circle 1 or 2 guys you don't want to beat you. But then the rest of those guys, as we look at this last pitch, the rest of those guys, you have to decipher who wants to walk and who doesn't. And the guys who don't want to walk, you should have eating out of your hand as a pitcher. And I know people sitting at home go, well, what do you mean? Well, the nerves, the anxiety, wanting to get on the board, wanting to tie the game up. You expand the zone, and human nature gets you out of your element, because postseasons, that's what it does.
Matt Olson with tying on the board here in the first inning. Takes ball 1. Olson acquired in a trade the day after the lockout lifted, and at that point, Braves fans and Freddie Freeman still kind of thought Freddie Freeman was going to be a Brave long term, but Saw the writing on the wall at that point. Went to the Dodgers. And so the new Atlanta first baseman. It's always going to be colored by that they chose Olson over Freeman. And he's had some stretches this year where he's been fantastic. Went through the worst slump of his career early on in September. But then John hit 6 home runs over his last 9 games.
Yeah, made a little adjustment with his hands and the timing, getting his hands a little bit away from his body.
Well, when you put them head to head, and it's obviously more layered than this because there were several pieces that moved in the deal to Oakland. Freeman with the advantage in the average and the OPS. Olson more home runs. There's a chance those two guys are going to go head to head next round with the Dodgers starting their division series against the Padres.
Well, here's the thing. I'd be careful if I'm Suarez on a curveball to Olson. Looks like the fastball's kind of beating him up in the zone. And it has. So you kind of stay there if you can. The reason I'd say you be careful on the curveball, if it rolls at all, Olson's going to lose it in the seats. But obviously if he throws it down towards the plate, then Suarez is going to win the battle. But he has been beating the fastball to the hitter at the plate up.
2-2. Off the glove of Real Muto, but the runners hang on.
Now, the other thing we'll talk about, the guy behind the plate right now pretty much shuts down the running games. And we're not talking about a lot of starters in the Phillies having quick moves to home plate. So credit him and his ability to slow that running game down, or the thought of it, because you've got a very aggressive style Acuna, always looking to take the base.
Yeah, it's a fun matchup there. Acuna with his wheels and Real Muto with his ability to control that running game. He throws runners out at a rate that's almost double your average catcher. And Acuna this year, even with the knee bothering him, stole 29 bags. 3-2 to Olson. Is down and away, and the bases are loaded.
All right, that's a byproduct of that was such a good pitch. It fooled me, and I'm going to take it either way. Both parties accomplished their goal, but one got rewarded with a walk.
And now you got to deal with William Contreras, who has been a breakout star for the Braves this season, and that has included, John, 2 home runs against Suarez.
He's a cool customer that basically has hitterish all over him, and now the challenge for Contreras is going to be, does he go up there looking to make noise on the first pitch, right? Can he be disciplined to look middle to middle up and get his pitch, or will he see a pitch with the bases loaded? Remember, the bases loaded used to be advantage to the hitter, stress on the pitcher. But if a hitter expands the zone with the bases loaded, advantage pitcher. I know that seems counterproductive, but if I don't have to throw a strike to you, then I'm not going to.
And Contreras is an aggressive guy. I mean, back-to-back walks here for Suarez, struggling to find it. Scary thing is, as you're trying to get back in the zone, this man here, Contreras, has the highest slugging in the majors against fastballs.
And I would think off speed is the first pitch I would throw here. Maybe that meeting of the mound was to remind him of that. Looks like they're setting in. Change it.
Yeah, and he took it. There are those numbers head to head. William Contreras, who started this season mostly in AAA in April, now finds himself hitting 5th for the Braves with the bases loaded in the postseason. And ahead 2-0.
Well, so far, I'm telling you, 5 days off didn't affect the eyes of the Atlanta Braves when they've been at the plate. They've stayed off some nasty pitches and have been disciplined to not expand that zone. Now he can keyhole what they call throw it in the coffee can spot, where he's looking middle to swing.
On a 2-0, Contreras takes a rip and misses. That's pretty close to the coffee can, huh?
Yeah, good pitch and good swing. Just maybe a little too aggressive on the bigger swing from Contreras. Gets the foot down and really tries to let the barrel of the bat go.
Acuna's at 3rd, Riley's at 2nd, Olson's at 1st. Contreras takes a generous strike. That's a massive call there from David Rackley to shift the count.
That is a massive call, and the reason that's massive is that to a hitter now says, I think that's a ball, and anything, they'll be crazy not to go back in there after getting 3 inches off the plate. So see if they could take advantage of that call, even though it's 2-2, changes the at-bat.
Suarez deals, taken high, full count, and nowhere to put Contreras. On a 3-2, Contreras hits a ground ball towards the middle. Sosa to the back for one. On to first, a double play. And Ranger Suarez struggles to find it in the first inning, but then, reliable for one of the best ground ball men in baseball. A double play gets him out of it. His postseason career was threatening to go sideways, but he gets out of it with a double play.
Yeah, when we get a chance, I'm going to show you what could be one of the biggest pitches of this game and potentially the series.
Curve for a strike on Matt Vierling. 9-1 for the Phillies in this second. And it's the rookie center fielder leading things off against Fried.
Well, you know, in a stressful situation, this is only the second curveball of the inning and the first of the at-bat. See how off balance Contreras gets? That gets the ground ball double play. That takes guts. That takes working within your catcher combination and having confidence. That was a outstanding pitch for a young pitcher with not a lot of experience in the postseason.
And you always wonder, right? You wonder how a guy's going to be when he gets to the postseason. You've already talked about how different it is.
You know how easy it is to spike that pitch? 3-2, no room, bases loaded. So he threw a lot of quality pitches. I'd be very encouraged if I'm a Phillies teammate, even though the bases were loaded with one out. He seemed calm, cool, and collective, and that battery did a great job of inducing that double play. I'm telling you, that's an inning that can change the game and possibly the series if he goes on to cruise and not get in those situations again.
One, two to Vierling is on the inside corner to get him. On a strikeout for Fried to open the second. Playoff baseball is back on Fox, and so are your chances to win Big Papi's money all throughout the postseason. Playing Fox Bet Super 6. Now is your chance to win $5,000. Just get the Super 6 app on your phone and enter your 6 picks in the NLDS contest for free.
Every year, Joe, managers, front office, they learn things about players they didn't know once this time of the season comes around. It's every year at some point you find the pluses and the negatives of postseason baseball, and it can't be taught or told through an analytic or a computer. You have to experience it, and I'm telling you, I loved what I saw on the mound from Suarez. He didn't look bothered. It looked like it could be an inning that you mentioned could get away from you.
Edmundo Sosa lofts one down the line, and he's got a base hit. He's got good wheels to turn this into a double. This was one of the surprises in the lineup, and that Edmundo Sosa hadn't started a game for the Phillies since September 15th because of a hamstring issue. They thought his season might be done. He's on the wild card roster as a defensive replacement, but he starts at short here.
I've seen it too. Postseason makes heroes out of guys, makes moments out of guys, and you know, here you mentioned he hadn't swung a bat in a competitive game in a while, and now he's got a double scoring position for the thunder of the lineup that Philly gets to turn around.
And it's the top of that order, John, we were talking about. Went 3 for 36 in the 2 games in St. Louis. Well, they had 3 hits in the first inning here today. Kyle Schwarber takes strike 1.
Max Fried doesn't give up many hits on that curveball, and you just saw one there. Although it wasn't hit very hard, it was perfectly placed.
Throws a curve here, grounded to second for Gene Segura or for Arcia, and he throws out Schwarber. Up to third goes Sosa. It's already worth comparing those 2 games in St. Louis with today. In the first inning, as many hits with runners in scoring position as they had in the whole series in St. Louis. And how about the 2-out hitting? They didn't have a single 2-out hit against the Cardinals and still won that series. They had 4 straight 2-out hits in the first inning today.
Yeah, it's rare. They'll tell you that's rare, and it is. It's hard to string, you know, against great pitching. It's hard to string 2, 3, 4 hits in a row, but that's what they did.
Rhys Hoskins flat out his first time. Yeah, it's a very un-postseason-like inning. Both these teams like their chances offensively because they can both hit the ball out of the park. And in this era, that's what wins postseason games. From an offensive standpoint. Freed to Hoskins with a strike.
That's why, again, compartmentalizing your thinking. You would never really do this in the regular season, but when you give up a 2-out, 2-strike hit, in your mind you got to go, okay, that's it. I'm just one pitch at a time, because the postseason will be the longest game you pitch mentally if you do it right. Because the regular season, you're just surviving the gauntlet of the year. This, you really are trying to pitch your very best and make every pitch count, because you're not guaranteed another start unless the series dictates it or goes long enough.
Curve is pulled to third and speared by Riley. Phillies unable to take advantage of the double, and middle 2, it's 2-zip. Max Fried pitches around that double last inning after giving up 2 in the first. Ranger Suarez goes back to work.
I was going to say, he knows, be careful on the first pitch. With d'Arnaud, he is an aggressive hitter early, and he is looking to do damage, and he does it about as good as anybody. Changeup is kind of the Achilles heel for him.
Hits one in the air to left field. It sends Schwarber back. It is gone. Home run, d'Arnaud.
That's what he likes to do. I mean, they went in. That's now his 12th home run on inside part of the plate. This guy's having an amazing offensive year for the Atlanta Braves. Ball's going to jump today, Joe. You could see some fireworks more than this.
And d'Arnaud hit 18 during the regular season, was an all-star for the first time here at the age of 33, has the Braves on the board with a solo shot.
Well, they want to go in, and you know what? They went in. And that's a pitcher that will look at that replay and go, hey, wait a minute. I threw the ball where you asked me to throw it.
Yeah.
It just didn't get it back.
Braves, the #1 home run hitting team in the National League. Across baseball, only the Yankees hit more this year. That's ball 1 on Orlando Arcia. Arcia starting his second base with Ozzie Albies out with a broken pinky. And he's been good. And throughout his career, John, this has been a guy who during the regular season has been bad offensively. Another example of somebody who has a different gear in the postseason.
Yeah, something clicks for guys, and maybe they just get more locked in. They see things slower.
Flies this one to short right. Segura's out. Castellanos is on, and he's got it. So on a 2-1 game in the second inning, the postseason debut for the fantastic rookie Michael Harris, who came straight up from Double-A at the age of 21 on May 28th, and he's transformed the Braves.
Yeah, Christmas came early for him too, by the way. You know, he got rewarded with a nice contract. He's having a fantastic year. And I think the trend lately, I've noticed a lot of pitchers are trying to figure out what door do they open to expose this young man, because he's hitting almost 300, and look for the curveball to be a big play in this series against Michael Harris. They're throwing more and more curveballs to him.
You know, the Braves were 23 and 27 at the end of May. That almost lines up exactly with when he came up from Double-A. They won 14 in a row to start June. Best record in the majors from that stretch forward. And Harris, who they figured would come up and give them some good defense, kind of stabilize things out there, has been way better offensively than they ever anticipated. On a 1-1 from Suarez, he taps it foul.
I mean, the rookie of the year is going to be tough competition within one team.
Right.
Within one team. I think it's safe to say it's going to come between Strider and Michael Harris. I mean, there's other worthy competition out there, but you're right. I mean, Michael Harris has given an element to this team that transforms more than just his offense.
There are the resumes. Kenny mentioned Strider is on the roster. They're not certain yet how they're going to use him. He's in play to start Game 3 in Philadelphia. Bouncing ball to first for Hoskins. So 2 gone in this second inning. Ranger Suarez pitching with a 2-1 lead. And for more on him, here's Kenny.
Well, Joe, Ranger Suarez was a pitcher and outfielder when the Phillies signed him for $25,000 as a 16-year-old in 2012. He told me he wasn't a bad outfielder, but when I asked him if he could hit, he said, well, that's why I'm pitching right now. Sal Gustinelli, the Phillies' longtime international scouting director, said Suarez's defining quality then and now was his unflappable demeanor. JT Realmuto agreed, saying he never speeds up, never is in a rush.
We saw that in that bases loaded threat in the first inning that he was able to get out of. That is a strike on Robbie Grossman, acquired at the deadline from the Tigers, and to do this, that is face left-handed pitching.
That's outside.
Well, you can see how well he finishes when he throws a baseball. And I know he doesn't qualify for Gold Glove, but many people feel like he's as good as it gets defensively as a pitcher when he releases the ball.
How about right here?
Plays right into his game with as much as he gets on the ground, too.
Absolutely. I mean, he finishes in a perfect position, and that tells you what you need to know about how well he's kind of mastered his mechanics. And that's why when he throws a baseball, it looks effortless. And he's able to throw it to really the intended target. He's commanding the baseball very well.
His 1-2 is outside for ball 2.
I always say that, you know, in this day and age of baseball, when you want to throw as hard as you can train for that, but you're going to sacrifice something. And mechanically, you're going to sacrifice. You're not going to be a fielder if you throw 100 miles an hour for the most part. You're going to fall off the mound one way or the other just to get that velocity.
Yeah.
And that has always kind of been his thing, attacking the zone, throwing strikes. It's clean mechanics.
I mean, just watch how quiet everything is. I mean, when you take these the windup, which I'm glad I see he's got a windup. Nobody winds up anymore. See how quiet his head is and how good his delivery over his leg is, that he can now see a line drive hit at him or move right or left on a ground ball, hit it either way, and he becomes an extra fielder in the defense. Which, by the way, when the shift goes away next year, is going to be even more important. The pitchers who can field their position take away the up the middle, whereas now the shift takes away the up the middle.
3-2 on Robbie Grossman out of the 9th spot for the Braves. He takes strike 3. But the Braves get on the board. It's their catcher, one of their heart and souls. It is Travis d'Arnaud, and it's 2-1 after 2 here in Game 1 of the NLDS. One catcher got the Braves on the board. Another catcher set to lead off this third for the Phillies, and JT Realmuto. Started the rally in the first inning, the first of 4 straight 2-out singles to get the Phillies in front.
Well, last inning you saw adjustment out of Max Fried. We talked about the aggressive style hitting of the Phillies. He threw 10 of 11 pitches in that last inning, breaking balls. You just constantly have to go in with a game plan, and if they make you get off your game plan, unless you're executing, you know, when I hear people say, well, what do you do when your strength is the hitter's strength? You pitch off of your strength till you prove that his strength's better. You don't adjust. You don't.
And he's got enough success under his belt where he can trust that. He knows that.
Well, early on, the strike zone low for the pitchers has not been there, and I would argue that's what they want more. But now you adjust. You have to pitch up in the zone every once in a while.
Umpiring crew today, the crew chief Bill Miller's at second. It's David Rackley who calls balls and strikes here in Game 1. Realmuto leads off the third. He's fouling it off, and the count is full. The Realmuto in late June, his average was at 236, and then Harper breaks his thumb. Leading off the next inning, JT Realmuto hits a home run, and he's hitting above 300 since.
It's amazing how every guy tries to pick up the intuitive slack when one of their teammates goes down. Superstar.
Payoff. Bouncing ball. Freed has won back-to-back Gold Gloves. Throws high here, and it's safe at first. Normally the game's best defensively on the mound. His high throw leads to a leadoff base runner.
Little things, right? Little things that can create big openings that wouldn't be much in the regular season. This is one of those little things. You make your throw 99 out of 100 times, and that one time, ooh, I think they're gonna. Are they not looking at it?
Doesn't look like
Wow.
it. You know, when he first got the foot down, definitely in time, but not there. And then it was hard to tell on that view if he got it to the bag. Let's see here.
That first view we looked at looked like he had definitely got his foot back to the bag. Right here is the one I thought. Not there. Okay.
Close, though.
Either way, a rally for the Phillies here.
And Harper, who swings and misses at the first one. Harper had an opposite field hit his first time up and came in to score.
Two first pitch nasty sinking action on Harper to get him to swing over the top of it.
He's homered against Freed twice. On this 0-1 pitch, he shows bunt. He lays it down. Darno's got it. He goes to first. A high throw from him, but Olson's able to gather this one. A bunt from Bryce Harper.
Well, that's not where he was trying to bunt it. He was trying to get that easy base hit where the shift had him. But look, he's said all the right things and doing all the right things. He's doing whatever he can. See, he's trying to get that ball down the third base line. He's doing everything he can to help his club when he knows he's not rock solid locked in.
You know, the win in the wild card round was his first postseason series win in his career. And Washington won the whole thing his first year in Philadelphia. And he says he's been speaking it into existence. St. Louis this weekend, anybody that would listen, he was saying, we're not losing this game. We're not losing this game. Then he went out and hit the home run. His money where his mouth is. It's a fly ball off of the bat of Castellanos, deep to right. Acuna's back. It's off the wall. Castellanos heads for second. The throw's high. Throw back to third. Realmuto's in safe. Second and third for the Phillies, and Nick Castellanos is 2 for 2.
This was a tough read for JT. The ball's carrying out to right field, like I said, but you can see a little bit of the jitters. A lot of throws in this innings have been high, right? That's just a little bit of, that's what you could say might be missing from the feel of being off 5 days. But a great relay here, and then the Braves had a chance twice to get 2 outs. And that throw back to third, he's out if that throws down. You see the relay to Dansby, and then he just couldn't quite get the grip and threw it high to Riley.
So again, it's the heart of the lineup for the Phillies, getting things done. Second and third, one away for Alec Bohm. Bohm hits a fly ball to center field for Harris. Realmuto tags up from third. Harris makes the grab. Throw heads home. It's cut off, and it's 3-1. Alec Bohm drives in his second run of the game.
Inning started with an error. Old school, kind of bunt him over, even though he was trying to bunt for a base hit. And then the sacrifice fly. Runs are a premium in the postseason. When you get them on, you got to get them in. That percentage so far has been really good for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Phillies have scored 3 runs on 6 hits. Over 2+ innings against Freed. That's first pitch curve and a big swing and a miss from Segura. Yeah, they had the 6-run 9th inning in game 1 against the Cardinals. Outside of that, they only scored 2 runs in that series. And so one of the big questions coming into this division series was, can the offense get going? So far, so good for the Phils. And now Segura shoots one up the middle, base hit center field. Castellanos comes home. Harris's throw. Not in time, and it's 4-1 Philadelphia. Gene Segura drives home Castellanos. 2 in the first and now 2 in the third.
This has been a hitting exhibition of taking what the pitcher gives you. And I'm talking, you could go 2 weeks and not have this kind of 2-out RBI with runners in scoring position. And timing's been great for the Philadelphia Phillies. They've got clutch hit after clutch hit early in this game.
5 for 7 with 2 out.
Putting pressure on the opposing team, the favored team, right? That's what the Phillies want to do. They got this fearless approach that went into St. Louis. We already documented what they did, and they want to do the same thing here, knowing what they got when they go home. They got one of their best pitchers in Aaron Nola lined up to pitch at home.
And again tomorrow it's Zach Wheeler, who has owned the Braves. Here's the 8-hitter, the rookie Matt Vierling, taking ball 1.
Well, the one thing about Max Fried is he usually owns that inner half of the plate, and he's left a couple pitches in the middle of the plate where the Phillies have taken advantage of. When he's struck out a couple hitters, he's owned the inside. He buries it in, and that slider becomes more effective.
This is a guy in Fried who, over his last 10 starts of the regular season, didn't give up more than 2 earned runs. The air opening the door for these 2 runs here in the third, but 4 total for the Phillies.
And it's kind of the one that shocks your system, really, because you got 2 strikes, 2 outs, nobody on, and the next thing you know, you're sitting in the dugout going, how did I give up 2 runs? And then this inning started with his own error, right? And then a couple throws. So you shake your head. You got to try to let it go and provide the next couple innings for this bullpen to give them rest in this unusual 5-day series with only 1 off day. So you're going to have your whole staff ready.
Fried, who was sick to his stomach literally in his last regular season start, probably figuratively sick to his stomach here. Ahead of Vierling 1 and 2, struck him out looking his first time. Ground ball to third. Good hands by Riley. That's the inning. But the Phillies take advantage of the air from Fried, and they've got a 4-1 lead. And it's been jarring to watch pitchers be able to it's been jarring to watch pitchers be able to do that against this guy this year.
And that's where that timing of just being a little uncomfortable, and you know he's not super healthy with the different aches and pains. Of course, the knee is the bigger issue. But I'm just impressed with watching film on Suarez and now seeing him up close. I mean, the ball comes out of his hands smooth, beating hitters to the barrel on fastballs up in the zone. And at 93, you wouldn't think that would be the case. But it's his arm angle and really that easy delivery that creates life on that pitch.
His 2-2 to Acuna is inside, and Kenny told you about his background playing outfielder coming up. And when the Phillies first saw him, he was only throwing 85, but they saw those clean mechanics. They saw the athleticism. They thought, let's see. And his second year at the academy in Venezuela, he struck out 78 and walked 1. He walks Acuna. Here in this postseason debut, he's walked 3. Later this afternoon, the American League Division Series gets underway over on TBS for the Mariners and the Astros at 3:30. Then the Guardians and the Yankees. And in the nightcap, the other side of the National League, Padres and Dodgers at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on FS1, the Fox Sports app. Acuna's on and Swanson's up.
And for Swanson to be aggressive early, try to take advantage of maybe something that Suarez tries to get ahead. And those 3 walks, they've all been pretty close pitches, too.
Curveball.
Good pitch. That's, if you're going to offset an aggressive hitter, that's a good one to do.
The 0-1. Change up. So curve and then a change and an 0-2 count. Ranger Suarez a year ago mentioned that he finished with the best ERA in the majors. He actually started the year in the minors, and he got caught up in May as a mop-up guy. He was so good in that role that he kept climbing the pecking order in the bullpen and became the closer for the Phillies midsummer and moved into the rotation in August. So yeah, this is his 5th year with time in the majors, but a lot of that back and forth between the majors and AAA, most of that spent in the bullpen. This the first year where he's been a starter from the beginning of the year.
Well, he's making the most of it, and I would say this is a spot he stays the rest of his career.
27 years old, from Venezuela, grew up on a farm in Venezuela, playing outfield. His 1-2 to Swanson is fouled off.
You know, the issues that I have some issues with taking young pitchers and bouncing them back and forth. I think you can lose more than you gain. But to his credit, he was always a pitcher in his ability to throw pitches, right? Mechanically. He's not just a rare back, let it eat. And there's what you have to see right there. Is all you have to see. And the left-handed pitchers in our league, he ranks 3rd.
And that's over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So an extended run, kind of under the radar. Big stage for the first time today. Checking on the speedy Acuna.
I think back to before June 3rd. You know, everyone was kind of down on the Phillies. Another season that might be lost. I still loved their starting pitching. I still loved their thunder in their lineup. And if they figured out the defense and bullpen, I said they're a playoff team. And here, lo and behold, they have. They've moved a couple pieces around. They made a couple adjustments. Of course, they've changed managers and maybe some philosophy. But this team in that city that's about to explode on Friday have been waiting for this for a long time, and they're just hoping they come back 2-0.
For the first playoff game in Philadelphia since October 7th of 2011. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Dansby Swanson. Suarez fires and gets him with a high fastball. Same way that he finished him off the first time.
It almost looks like he gets underneath this pitch, but he's really not. He's on top of it and throws it up. It has great carry at the end, and it looks so enticing to the hitter. And a lot of them are having a hard time staying off of it.
3rd K for Suarez. 1 gone in this 3rd inning as Austin Riley comes up. Drew one of those 3 walks his first time. You mentioned the season turnaround for the Phillies. Fixed a lot of things. There's the obvious thing that they, as you mentioned, changed the manager. They were 22-29 when Joe Girardi was let go on June 3rd. 67-46 since Rob Thompson's taken over. Only the Braves and the Dodgers have won more games since the baseball lifer, very similar to the manager on the other side, Brian Snitker, finally got a chance that he figured he was never going to get.
Yeah, and they, you know, it wasn't the smoothest ride to get to that record. They did win a bunch in a row right when he took off, but then they had a swoon just not too long before the season ended, and you go, uh-oh, here we go again. But they righted the ship. He talked about just historically since he was there, they had struggled in Miami. And the Miami series is when he saw a difference in that kind of team. Because I asked him, I said, you know, it's a dumb question to ask, but is there a moment, is there a game, is there a particular time where you felt like here's the turning point? And he just said the Miami series. And now here they are.
He also said, yeah, well, we do that, and then we go to the All-Star break, come out, get swept by the Cubs, but don't let that get in the way, right, of what was a point that he felt things kind of shift. 59 years old, Rob Thompson. He's from Canada. He had a short minor league career in the Tigers system in the 1980s, but very quickly pivoted into coaching and player development, mostly in the Yankees organization, a lot of it with Joe Girardi. So this has been a bittersweet thing for him. His first chance as a manager, but the expense of his close friend. Stays at 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the big news, of course, is yesterday it became official what was becoming too hard to ignore, and that is that this is the right guy for the job, and he signed a 2-year contract. Interim tag removed, and Rob Thompson is the guy.
Yeah, good for him. He's put in a lot of work, and again, you don't know what it'll translate into. Maybe it's a long managerial career, kind of like Brian Snitker. Everyone talked about this was it. He was just going to go do AAA and be content right down the road in Gwinnett. Lo and behold, all they've done is won.
And he got passed over a couple times. Freddie Gonzalez, when he got the job, Brian at that point was 55, and he said, okay, you know, I know it's been my dream, but it's not happening, when he got passed over that time. But then he got the call to take over for Freddie in 2016. Strike three called on Riley, and against 2 and 3 in the Braves lineup, back-to-back Ks for Suarez.
I'm just telling you right now, if you're a pitcher in this game, if you don't go to that side of the plate, you're foolish. Because that side of the plate is getting an inch or two where it's unhittable. And good for the pitchers that can get it there, but that's where you need to know. Every game, every umpire, I think there's a side of the plate that gives a little bit human element to know that you can't be perfect on both sides. So they're taking advantage of it and making some big pitches when they needed to on the inside part of the plate.
Back-to-back Ks after the leadoff walk. Shift is on, and Olson's up. It's foul, and we go down to Kenny.
Well, Joe, Phillies players were ecstatic over the news that Rob Thompson was extended yesterday. The commissioner's office normally requires clubs to consider minority candidates for senior baseball operations positions, but it also makes certain exceptions for teams that want to promote from within. And when it came to Thompson, Phillies president of baseball operations Dave Dombrowski asked, what else could I be looking for? And that's why they made the move.
And everybody around the team talks about his personality and the calmness that he's brought, the ease that he's brought, and it's translated into this quiet confidence that was building as the Phillies made the run towards the postseason. Certainly has grown winning the 2 games in St. Louis, and continues to with an early lead over the favored Braves. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Olson.
And I'll tell you what, his starting pitcher has made some adjustments here. It's a little rocky inning, the inning where he had the bases loaded, and now he's done a good job of being able to kind of right the ship with all of his secondary pitches.
Pitching coach Caleb Cotham in his 2nd year on the job, highly regarded. A 1-2 to Olson is high and away.
So to give you some perspective, you know, when you're trying to manipulate the strike zone, look, calling balls and strikes is hard, so let's just get that out of the way. But when we watch where the umpire is set up, he's usually set up on one side or the other, so the other side has to be a little bit harder to navigate. So look where he's set up. He's set up on the inside part of the plate with a left-hander at the plate.
Base hit beating the shift for Olson. Acuna running hard. He's at third. And they're at the corners with 2 out. Olson has reached both times.
Well, fastball that just kind of beats him a little bit to the ball, to the barrel of the bat, but he gets enough wood on it to go the other way and create a little bit of stress here with Acuna. 2 outs, of course, is going off the crack of the bat.
And so, John, the game again finds the rookie Contreras, who came up with the bases loaded his first time and grounded into a double play.
He did on a great 3-2 curveball that you know is in the back of his mind now. But the reason I talked about where the umpire sets up, now watch where he sets up on a right-handed hitter. See how he's right on that line? So that lane, he's right on that lane. That's why those pitches inside seem to be more lenient. And I know I'll be told at some point that no, that's not the case. That's just the best way that they're taught. But to me, when I'm pitching and I've seen things that you know one side or the other is a place you can go to, you try to go there.
You've done a little pitching in your days.
A little bit. I mean, a little bit.
2-0 on Contreras, shakes his head, says, I don't like it. I saw it well, and I don't like it. Acuna started this inning with a walk. Olson with a single to extend it. Braves trying to do what the Phillies have done, and that is figure it out with 2 out. On the season, they've been the best 2-out hitting team in baseball. 3-0 on Contreras.
Young player, veteran player on deck. 3-0 Always the million-dollar question. When and who do you give the 3-0 green light to? Well, you give it to the one that you can trust will not expand the zone.
Let's see what they do with the youngster. He takes ball 4. And the Braves, for the second time in 3 innings, have loaded the bases against Suarez.
Okay, now that's the first at bat where he got out of his mechanics and wasn't himself. He didn't throw anything relatively close. What is he going to do here with the bases loaded after a guy that hit a home run on an inside part of the plate? Where does he make that adjustment? And a good mound visit right here just to reset the brain.
And you saw the pen starting to warm. Such is the nature of the postseason. In the second inning, last time this man was up, he put the Braves on the board, and he's going to come up here with the bases loaded. Travis d'Arnaud, who is only a few years removed from his career seemingly hanging by a thread. The Mets released him in 2019 after 7 years there, battling injuries. The Dodgers signed him. He had 1 at-bat for the Dodgers. They sold him to Tampa Bay. And that's where he figured it out. Second half of 2019, d'Arnaud took off, parlayed that into a contract with the Braves. And in the span of 1 year, he went from wondering if he was finished to signing a $16 million deal with the Braves, and then signed another one of those deals late last year.
Yeah, he's done the most of when he's healthy. He's been outstanding. And again, reiterate, aggressive first pitch hitter. Good thing for the pitching coach to go out and remind Suarez, we got to make a quality pitch here.
d'Arnaud trying to change this game. Takes ball 1. Certainly it was in Suarez's mind. Gave him a change up and missed with it.
Well, this stadium will erupt if he's able to get a hit. 2 opportunities with the bases loaded, although be it with 2 outs.
The 1-0 pitch fouled off. Back-to-back changeups. The obvious production, obvious what he's done handling the staff, but even behind the scenes. Brian Snitker talks about how important Travis d'Arnaud has been to this team in this newest golden era of Braves baseball, with 5 straight division titles, of which he's been a part of 3. On a 1-1 pitch, swings and misses right where Suarez wanted that one.
Again, I'm impressed. He spikes his changeup, comes back and throws a great changeup, and then paints a fastball up and in, ties up d'Arnaud. Now he's got d'Arnaud thinking, what next? Where could he go after I took him deep for a home run in there, and he went back in and challenged me?
The 1-2 pitch evens the count up. Game 1 of the division series. Defending champion Braves. Phillies in the postseason for the first time in more than a decade. 2-2 pitch. Got him with a high fastball. Ranger Suarez out of a bases loaded jam again. Back here in Atlanta, where the Phillies have an early 4-1 lead. 9-1-2 coming up against Max Fried. This is Edmundo Sosa. Doubled his first time. Takes curve for a strike.
Well, the aggressive Phillies, 10 out of the first 18 batters have swung at the first pitch. And they definitely had a game plan coming in. They've executed it brilliantly so far, although be a lot of 2-out hits.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Well, they had 9 hits in the 2 games in St. Louis. They've got 7 hits against Fried in 3 innings today. Sosa takes a ball. Edmundo Sosa was hitting .189 for the Cardinals when the Phillies acquired him at the deadline. He's hit .315 in 25 games in Philly. He's great defensively. He's a good base runner. And they love him. 2-2. 26-year-old from Panama City, Panama. Fouls this one off.
Well, you know, those 11 days or so you talked about Max Fried getting the rest, really helping his arm. It's been a stressful game. I mean, and it really didn't have to be that way. It was 2 outs, 2 strikes, stress. Ground ball, comebacker right to him, stress. And so he needs a clean inning. And the other starter's getting some stress on him too. And Suarez, they both could use a clean inning.
These teams both have 7 base runners through 3 innings, but the Phillies taking advantage where the Braves haven't. Sosa flies this one down the line and into the seats.
That's why I said, you know, we've got it wrong when we universally declare what a pitch count should be for each hitter or pitcher. I mean, like 51 pitches, right? If this were a regular season game, which it's not, I'd say 105 is fine. But with all this stress and the innings, you got to cut that number down when you're constantly getting out of jams.
Wow, destroyed that bat.
And that number never takes into account that. It's just a raw number that everything's equal. So when you have games like this, you got to grind them out. You're going to be a little bit more tired, but you got to get that 5-6 innings in and at least shorten the route for which Snitker has to navigate a 5-game series with his bullpen, which you know everyone's going to use their bullpen. But leading up into this point, it's interesting. The teams that have won getting here, their starters have been the reason.
It's been a bit of a throwback postseason so far.
Yeah.
Nine-hitter, 9th pitch. Sosa takes ball 4. Down to Ken Rosenthal.
Nick, 2 hits, both to the opposite field. What has been your approach against Max Fried?
I mean, right now just prioritizing being smooth and early, so I just make good swing decisions.
What are you seeing from Ranger Suarez?
The fact that he's resilient, you know, he's gotten into trouble a little bit, but, you know, he's stayed poised and got out of it.
Nick, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
Joe, back to you.
All right, Kenny, and Castellanos, we've talked about it, has struggled for the Phillies this year, but they're hoping that edge and that brashness that he's played with for a lot of his career can manifest here in the postseason. So go back to the top of the order with Schwarber.
I said in the beginning of the year, I really like their lineup.
And foul ground, that is out of play.
Their lineup is not necessarily just all slug, right? They don't just swing and miss. But this guy right here, he's a gap-to-gap hitter. The power is going to come and play in that ballpark, but he's gotten 2 really quality at bats, and they needed him. And that one easily could have been a home run. But the one thing that he brings, to your point, is that attitude of he wants to hit. No matter what his average is, he believes he's going to beat the next guy that's on the mound. And look, the Phillies have that kind of quiet confidence going from basically managerial change on.
No balls, 1 strike on Kyle Schwarber. Still looking for his first hit of the postseason. He shows bunt and pulls it back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Harper and Schwarber. One guy's got 46 home runs. The other one's the reigning MVP. Have both squared around the bunt in this game. Harper's saying, I see ya. Kevin Long, the hitting coach. Squares again, pops this one in the air. It will fall harmlessly. And it's 1-2.
Well, the reason that is harder than what somebody at home sitting saying, how hard could it be to bunt a ball to third base? Well, it's not hard if you practice it. And the reality is those guys probably don't practice it very over. A token one when they step in the cage. But they could do that 5 times a week in the regular season, and I guarantee you they wouldn't be shifting them like that. So that's the purpose of the postseason. If you get a guy that kind of makes a commitment to checking that box and working at it, he could get a base hit anytime he wants.
And you get all the reasons why, right? But for a guy like Schwarber who's hit 46 home runs, to say I'm going to give up the chance to do that, that's hard on hitters like him.
No doubt it's hard on hitters.
But
there will come a point in every series this postseason where late in the game, that could be the difference between winning and losing.
A couple Phillies stars showing a willingness to break that out here.
Because let me tell you something, if this was the 8th inning and tie game, they're defending him the same way.
Right.
The same way.
Yeah.
So I've always believed that anytime you can put extra or undue stress on the opposing team, whatever that is, whether it's from the mound or at the plate, boy, you have a huge advantage at this time of the year.
It's a ball on Hoskins. Well, Schwarber has 3 bunt hits this season. He's actually got 14 in his career. Bryce Harper has 1 this season. Both those guys showing a willingness to give it a try here in the different season, in the second season.
I've always had a running joke that you could be standing at the plate if you're one of those guys we mentioned. Tell the pitcher, I'm going to bunt and there's nothing you can do about it. You could lay the bunt down, have a conversation with the catcher, and then decide to run because there's nobody over there that can get you out.
Two and 1 on Hoskins. So, John, the Phillies 2-0 in the postseason, 4-1 lead here. Even though Schwarber and Hoskins, 1 and 2 in the order, are combined 0 for 21.
And that's a great sign if you're the Phillies. You think, first of all, that trend won't continue, or at least you hope it doesn't continue. But collectively, this lineup has done and picked up the pieces it needs to do to get to this point.
Hoskins has his first base hit, looping it down the line. Sosa heads for third. Hoskins to second. It's a double. The old broadcaster's jinx. Said to speak it into existence for Reese, who's put him in second and third.
I think that's going to be it for Max Fried. This was a slider on the outside part of the plate. He hits off the end of the bat. Won't be the prettiest double he's ever got, but he doesn't care.
So the Phillies have taken advantage of their opportunities against Fried, of which there have been many. And they've chased the Braves ace from this game in the 4th inning.
Press written consent.
Jesse Chavez out of the Braves bullpen. That is strike 1 on JT Realmuto. It's first time today, I think, that David Rackley's gone that far outside. Max Fried saying, where was that for me?
Yeah, it's a mixed line. And, you know, for Max Fried, only 3 hard hit balls. But unfortunately, that doesn't tell the story of the 4 runs and 2 earned. And he's on the losing side with 2 more runners on board. Credit the Phillies for having a game plan and establishing it.
0-2 on Realmuto.
And what I mean by that is we could tell early that they were aggressive. And they swung a lot of first pitches. And they got a lot of key hits in 2 outs, runners in scoring position. So they're definitely putting a lot of pressure here in the Atlanta Braves in game 1 of a best-of-5.
Realmuto has reached both times, scored twice, facing a drawn-in infield here with Sosa at third and Hoskins at second. Chavez living out there.
Chavez is amazing. I mean, he's been playing baseball for a long time with a lot of teams. Very maybe underwhelming kind of eye-popping pitching, but he has guts and he throws the ball where he wants to. And that's why he's still in the big leagues trying to get big outs.
39 years old in his 15th year, and none of them weirder than this one with the teams that he's bounced around to and from. Yes, to and from. He was a Brave earlier this year, a year that actually began with the Cubs. So Chavez was with Atlanta last year, but then the first 3 games this season in Chicago, got traded back to Atlanta a few weeks into the year. Atlanta traded him to the Angels at the deadline in the Iglesias deal. Well, then the Angels DFA'd him a few weeks later. Braves said, okay, let's get him again. And so he's back in Atlanta for a 3rd different stint and a 2nd one this year. 2-2 on Realmuto.
Well, he cuts it here. He changes speeds. He moves the ball around. Just a little movement. Trying to get the ball off the barrel of the bat. Now you'd love to get a pop-up strikeout ground ball and he drawn in infield because Mr. Harper's on deck. If they could choose to walk, they get him out.
Full count.
And this is going to have to be a slider out off the plate, I would think. Try to make your best 3-2 enticing pitch. Even though you got a base open, you really don't want to face that next guy with the bases loaded.
Protected by an MVP. Good pitch and fouled off. An MVP last year of the National League in Harper, but you can make a pretty good argument that this is the MVP of the Phillies this year in Real Muto. Everything he does for this team, the timing of his breakout, I mentioned, really corresponded right with when Harper went down with the thumb injury. And maybe it's coincidence, but maybe not. Maybe there's something to him putting the team on his back.
Let's not forget he's playing a tough position where he plays a lot, catcher.
Yeah, more than anybody. Caught more innings than anyone. Beautiful pitch. Two-seamer comes back to clip the corner.
I'm telling you, I know I'm a pitcher and I'm biased. That's one of the toughest pitches to make with very little room for error, and he made it at the perfect time, and all Real Muto can do is tap and go back and just say, better pitch than I can handle, and now they have an opportunity to walk Harper, which you felt like that was the game plan all along.
He won't even take his bat up there. Left his bat and all the hardware in the on-deck circle, and passed the baton to Nick Castellanos. And this is what the Phillies envisioned when they signed Schwarber and they signed Castellanos, a lineup just with no breaks. Right. Castellanos has struggled so much, but today, 2 hits, a run scored, and a run knocked in.
Another good hitter with first pitch success, hitting over 400 on the first pitch.
And so he swings at it more often than anybody in baseball. Bases loaded. Ball 1 on Castellanos. Now, a big part of why, coming off that huge season for Castellanos, he chose Philadelphia was he thought it was a team that was set up to give him a chance to play in these big games. He said, I've hit my homers, I've made money, but I haven't won any games that matter. Been to the postseason twice, got swept both times prior to winning the wild card round this weekend.
Well, you see the numbers with Cincinnati, and I think those numbers are going to reverse themselves next year. I think you're going to see a ton of power. Similar ballparks. They're both good hitter-friendly ballparks. They're home parks they played in. And I think, you know, that year transition, it'll be a year delayed for the full 162. You'll see the fruits of that next year for sure.
Castellanos getting his chance on the big stage and coming through with his 3rd hit of the game. 1 run is in. Here comes another 2-run single, Nick Castellanos. And the Phillies do it again with 2 out. They lead the Braves 6-1.
Well, I call him a professional hitter, a guy that loves to hit. And you can tell today he's locked in. He's not missing his pitch. It doesn't matter if he goes to right field, this time to left field. And I'm telling you, 2 out, that's backbreaker stuff in a series, especially the postseason, when you can get 2 out RBIs. It sucks the life out of the crowd. It sucks the life out of the other team.
5 of the 6 today, Smoltz, have come with 2 out.
I mean, that's just, I mean, if you draw it up, that's the perfect scenario because it just eats at the other team. Like you're just that close to getting out of an inning.
3 of the 6 knocked in by Castellanos. And Albaum, who's got a couple runs batted in himself, sends one down the right field line. Out of play. They'll get coverage beyond the expected with T-Mobile this postseason. Stream your team home or away and in the air with free Wi-Fi. Both those runs charged to Max Fried. Ranger Suarez, the upper hand at this point in his postseason debut. Andrew Bellotti ready in the bullpen. It's 1-2 on Bohm.
Up until this point, only 3 strikeouts for the Phillies lineup. That means they're putting the ball in play, and it doesn't matter how hard you hit it sometimes. It's if you find the spot, that's as good as a bullet.
I just asked Gene Segura in the 9th inning the other day, right?
Yeah.
Put it in play, win the game.
He's another guy, hit seeking, may not like to walk. Boy, he's unorthodox, but gets it done with his style of hitting.
2-2. Got him swinging, and that's the inning. The Phillies against the Braves ace Max Fried. 6 runs through 4 innings. Trying to.
Tonight at 9 on Fox.
Nick Castellanos, 3 hits, 3 runs knocked in today, and a 6-1 lead for the Phillies, which Ranger Suarez can enjoy.
Yeah, he can enjoy now some freedom. He was a pitcher too from probably be taken out of the game, but he's made all the pitches he's had to make with 2 strikes, and his teammates have made all the at-bats count with 2 strikes and 2 outs. Now a 5-run lead.
Bottom part of the Braves order, Orlando Arcia looks at a curve strike. It's 1-2. Jake Odorizzi down in the Braves bullpen. They're going to have to get a lot out of that bullpen today. Less than 4 innings from Max Fried. In this critical game 1. The one on paper where the Braves have the biggest edge.
Yeah, they had an edge for sure, and that's not slighting Mr. Suarez because he's been outstanding. But when you think about what Max Fried has been able to do and the success that he's had in his last, 8 or 9 starts, yeah, on paper, definitely.
Leadoff walk here for Arcia. The Braves bottom of the order trying to ignite things as they have for much of the season. Our player resume is sponsored by Indeed. This is 7, 8, 9 today. It's not been 7, 8, 9 every day this year, but the point is the bottom third of the Braves order was the best bottom third of any in baseball.
Oh, that's the part of the ride they won the amount of games they did. Their length and their ability to make pitchers struggle throughout their lineup. I'm going to tell you something. To any pitching coach and a manager, when you got a 5-run lead and you walk the leadoff hitter, you're not in much longer. I mean, that's a no-no. You don't even care if you give up a whole solo home run right there. In theory, you put the ball in play.
That's career high 5th walk for Suarez. Braves have not been without opportunities. Have loaded the bases a couple times, come away with no runs in those 2 situations. The lone run came on a Darno homer. 1 ball, 1 strike on Michael Harris.
Michael Harris is kind of a left-handed version of Ronald Acuna, where he has his hands and what he's trying to do, and you got to be strong and quick to have your hands in that position to get on top of a good fastball and obviously to turn on an inside fastball. He's got his hands similar to Ronald Acuna, just from the left-hand side.
Native of nearby Stockbridge, Georgia. Fouls this one off. Living a dream that began for him when he was a kid, watching the Braves when he was 3 years old. Said it started to feel possible that he could be a Brave one day when he watched another guy from Henry County make it to the team. Michael was 9 when Jason Hayward hit his opening day home run in 2010. Michael said, wow, if he can do it from Henry County to the big leagues, why can't I? He loved Hayward, he loved Chipper, Andrew Jones. You mentioned left-handed version of Acuna in some ways. Acuna was his guy most recently. He was watching the Braves as a fan as recently as last year. He was at the games in the postseason as a fan. Muscles this one up the middle. Segura will get the out at second. One gone in this fourth inning, and kind of a theme around here. Guys from this area playing for their hometown team.
Yeah, it's become kind of a mecca, baseball mecca, and I would say position player wise, you've got a chance to survive the kind of style of baseball they play here, because you can play almost year round. So these guys have benefited from a lot of high quality talent in this area.
And it looks like this might do it for Suarez, who today is able to pitch around the career high 5 walks to hold the Braves to no more than 2 runs. That man on first is responsibility. All in all, pretty darn good.
Yeah, he's not going to get the win, but he's going to get an assist if the team wins.
So Ranger Suarez goes 3 1/3. Those 5 walks, the ugly part of it, but holds the Braves to just the 1 run. And Andrew Bellotti comes in.
Bellotti's going to primarily throw fastball, slider to right-handers with an occasional changeup, but then his changeup goes up against left-handers.
Strike on Grossman.
Even split against left-handers, fastball and slider.
Grossman, a switch hitter, much better from the other side. That's why he was in the lineup with the left-handed starter. One ball, 1 strike.
Well, this area of the ball club has gotten better. It was the Achilles heel the last couple years for the Philadelphia Phillies. Could they ever fix their bullpen? Could they fix their defense? They've done a nice job kind of shoring up those 2 areas of their ball club.
This is Bellotti's first game of the postseason. They used just 4 relievers in the 2 games in St. Louis. One of those guys not on the roster. Kenny told us off at the top today. David Robertson injured his calf celebrating Bryce Harper's home run and is not on the roster. He'd been a key piece for Rob Thompson. On a 2-1, Grossman. It's a pop fly and foul ground, third base side. Bohm will run out of room, and we check in with Kenny.
Well, Joe, David Robertson, obviously quite accomplished, postseason experience, but he had struggled in September, at least with his command. 12 walks in 11 2/3 innings. They've got Zach Eflin in the bullpen now. Sir Anthony Dominguez is hot. They're feeling okay about it.
First time in a long time Phillies be able to say that. You know, the bullpen's been kind of a punchline about the Phillies in recent years. Bounce back to Bellotti to second one. Off balance throw. It's dug out but late.
Yeah, Sosa's timing was messed up there because that could have been and should have been a double play. And he had to go. Watch what the pitcher's looking at when he gets the ball. He's going to see basically 2 guys going to the bag. So the communication must have been a little different there. And that throw didn't help the off-balance situation for Sosa to throw to first. But when you're a pitcher, you don't want to see 2 guys going to the bag, because then you find yourself trying to find out who you're supposed to be throwing to. That's why they tell you just throw it over the bag. That's easier said than done. That's not that easy when 2 guys are going in a crossing pattern.
Right, it's trying to throw that mesh combo for a quarterback. Ronald Acuna, it's been a bright spot for the Braves today, reaching both times, pops this one foul. Doubled in the first inning, walked in the third. Bellotti on for Suarez. Muto. Man.
Here against Acuna, you see how deep the outfield's playing with 2 outs. Well, obviously, they're trying to cut off any kind of double to score that runner at first, but anything that's not hit real firm is going to easily drop in. But this guy usually doesn't doink them. When he gets them, he hits them hard.
A long way. Left the bases loaded in the first and in the third. Got a leadoff walk in this inning. Bellatti's 0-2. Andrew Bellotti, who reached the majors with the Rays in 2015, didn't pitch again in the majors until last year. Got 3 games with Miami. They released him. Phillies picked him up, and he's emerged this year for him. 59 games during the regular season. Postseason debut today. Fires 1-2. Backed up. Ball 2.
He's got a little bit of a crossfire. You'd think a guy that throws fastball slider usually with his kind of angle would want to be on the third base side of the rubber, but he's on the first base side of the rubber and throws across his body. And the last 2 sliders have backed up. Don't want that from that angle. You do not want your slider to back up because you're throwing it towards the right-handed hitter to break it away. When you're the hitter and you're seeing him on the mound, you see the space and everything. You're looking for that release point. And then here it comes. He pulls that one, just misses on the outside corner.
So Grossman will get a head start from first with a 3-2 from Bellotti to Acuna. There he goes. Here it comes. Acuna with his second base hit of the day. Ronald Acuna has reached all 3 times. First and second with 2 gone.
These situations throughout the year, this is where Swanson, when he was locked in, came up with big hit after big hit. And the Braves have yet to really get any 2-out magic working that the Phillies have mastered today. So if nothing else, the Braves to feel good if they could punch in a run or 2 here in this inning. A lot of baseball to play, don't get me wrong, but 6-1 in the postseason. It's a daunting task to ask the team to come back late in the game down 5.
Dansby Swanson, one of the 8 players in this Braves lineup, or on this Braves team, with 15 home runs this year. Change it with 1 swing. Takes a ball. Well, it's been the Phillies getting it done with 2 outs today, but the Braves the best 2-out team on the year.
That just speaks really to, I guess you could say, philosophy, but the length of their lineup. We talked about 7, 8, 9, what it was able to do, and why it's one of the best offenses in baseball.
2 on, 2 out. Swanson swings and misses. Bottom falls out. 1-1.
See, with Swanson's swing, and there you got him with 2 outs, hitting .310. With his swing, he will pull off the ball down and away. 2 strikes. He's going to have that kind of swing. But if you make a mistake, that kind of swing produces power and homers up in the zone.
Couple Ks today for Swanson. Good take there. Brad Hand. Phillies up 6-1, bottom of the 4th inning. Braves at first and second with 2 gone, and a 2-1 pitch to Dansby Swanson. Right where he wanted it, 2-2.
And that's a great pitch on the outside part of the plate. Really not much anybody can do with. Much like hitting and pitching, if you keep your front shoulder in, you got a chance to be successful on both sides of the ball, as a hitter in the box and a pitcher on the mound. But as soon as that front shoulder flies open, and you really don't have much to hit with, you're vulnerable, and you really just kind of flare something if you get lucky.
He's worked it full.
There's been a lot of full counts. I know we're going to get a number soon, but there's been a lot of full counts in this baseball game.
Putting the pressure on our stats crew there, huh?
Oh, you knew he'd have it. That's the 10th full count for Atlanta. Wow. You would think they'd be winning with that stat.
Just the one tally to show for it on Darno's home run. He'll be off and moving with another full count pitch. Swanson strikes out for the 3rd time today. And the Braves continue to struggle with their chances. They've left 7 on through 4 innings, and they trail game 1 of the division series, 6-1. To Gene Segura in a 6-1 game here in the 5th. Knocked in one of those 6 runs with a single back in the 3rd.
He's another guy that just amazes. You wouldn't teach hitting like this. Look how strong he is. He's like short, strong, and just his hands, they don't move. They're up over the plate. There's really no rock back, but he just finds ways to get the barrel of the bat to the ball.
Does again to left center field. Harris hustles over to cut it off. Segura's on his way to second. Harris's throw offline, and Gene Segura's got a double. Man, oh man, does he hit the ball hard.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be strong to do that. There's very little movement, so you know he's not going to expand the zone and swing wild. Watch how quiet this is. The ball is not exactly where he wanted it to be. Down, perfect. Uses his lower legs, which are strong as can be. Hit machine.
The Phillies 10 hits in 4+ innings in this game. A bunt from Matt Vierling, doing everything right. Riley throws him out.
Putting pressure on the opposing team, no matter what the score is huge. And now what we've seen on this season, the Phillies hit .269 with runners in scoring position. Okay, that's pretty good. 3rd in Major League Baseball. Today, going into it, they're 5 for 11.
And an appreciation for the small ball play from Vierling.
4 for 8 with 2 outs.
Yeah.
So they're doing all they needed to do to come in here, get the lead early, put pressure on the team that's supposedly favored, and keep adding runs if you can.
Gotten it from the heart of the order. They've gotten it from the bottom of the order. Edmundo Sosa, his first start in almost a month, has doubled, walked, and scored.
And see, the point I was trying to make, if you have a really big swing, you got a lot of holes. So a runner on 3rd, less than 2 outs, you're more apt to swing and miss than you are maybe to hit a home run. The Phillies got some guys that put the ball in play.
Down the line, Acuna's over and out of room.
But with 2 strikes, if you don't deviate and you got a big swing with no strikes, 1 strike and 2 strikes, you're going to swing and miss a lot. And I know that's a value that's not that big, that's not placed on it anymore. But come postseason, you watch the teams that win it. I bet you they don't have 15, 16 strikeouts in a game.
Right. Yeah, we talk about home runs being a big part of winning games, but last year's Braves were the exception, not the rule, and that they're not a great bat-to-ball team. Usually, it's teams that hit home runs, but they combine that with an elite contact rate that win it all.
Yeah, and you know, let's face it. I mean, the system's different now, so you're going to be facing more pitchers than you typically would. You're going to face possibly a 4th starter and a 5th starter, so that'll change a little of the dynamics. But you're facing elite pitching for the most part. So if that elite pitching has really good stuff, and you're a swing and miss ball club, good luck.
It's Dylan Lee getting warm in the Braves bullpen. One-two pitch. Sosa flies it to right center. Harris is over, plenty deep enough to get the job done. A leadoff double, a sacrifice bunt, and a sacrifice fly, and it's 7-1 Philadelphia.
Now they're putting on a clinic right now offensively, and that whole dugout knows it. Everyone's playing their part.
That quiet confidence we're talking about only continues to snowball here for him. That is going to do it for Jesse Chavez. 7-1 Phillies lead here in game one. And Julio Urias, a Cy Young candidate for the Dodgers, starting game one. Left-hander Dylan Lee on to face Kyle Schwarber. 1 ball, no strikes in a 7-1 game here in the 5th.
Dylan Lee has been tough this year. He's really tough on left-handers. He's got a real tight slider off that fastball. Tough to pick up with the angle at which he delivers the ball.
Bouncing ball into the shift. An easy play to finish off the top of the 5th inning. The Phillies get a double, a bunt, and a sacrifice fly and lead 7-1 halfway home in Atlanta. Caps, tees, hoodies, and more. Get all your postseason gear and wear what the champs wear at the official source, MLBshop.com. Latest man out of the bullpen for the Phillies is Connor Brogdon. Austin Riley fouls off the first pitch.
Well, his go-to pitch is going to be primarily that changeup. He throws it over 50% of the time to left-handers. Not as much to right-handers. Primarily going to be that fastball cutter combination. But Phillies couldn't ask for a better first game to give their bullpen an opportunity to work in a game with some kind of room for error.
Riley, who's walked and struck out, takes a ball, and there's still time in this game, but the Braves got to be really, really worried. Not about this game, but about their season.
Well, yeah, I mean, the narrative of game one's always a teeter-totter, right? I mean, game one of a best-of-5, the statistics show you win, you have a high percentage of winning the series. But if you feel like you're the better team, then you don't get carried away with if you lose game one, because what the whole year showed that you're capable of doing.
Popped on the infield here. Segura the call and the catch. And you may feel like you're the better team. You may very well be the better team, but you know, starting pitching in a lot of ways defines things, and this is what they're looking at over the next 2 games.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just like a hot goalie in hockey, right? You stand on his head, and you could have the best offensive team coming at you, but he's saving everything, and that's what starting pitching does. And if they're on their game, they're going to be tough to beat. That's the reason the Philadelphia Phillies were, in the beginning of the year, I thought, a very well put together team. If it all clicked, they would be here. It took a little while for it to happen, but man, those are 2 monsters at the front end of your rotation. And let's not forget the Braves have those similarities in their rotation as well. It's just going to come back to executing like the Phillies did in game one so far. Yes, a lot of time, still time for the Braves to catch up, but the Phillies have done everything you could possibly do to execute and be up by 6.
7 runs without a homer. I mean, they've sprinkled in a couple doubles, but they've done the little things. Any chance they've had to bring somebody in or move somebody over, they've accomplished it.
Yeah, and you start on the road, you want to start with a bang, and they did. Look, I mean, there's always going to be the talk with this new playoff system, and it's not going to stop here. Did the 5-day rust? That's the first question they're going to ask Brian Snitker. Guaranteed there'll be a question about did the 5 days that will be irrelevant once this game's over. But to this game, it could have some value in thinking, how do you get your team prepared for a season that never happens? You still want to be in this position. You didn't want to have to be a team that has to go on the road and win 2 games like Philly did. But yeah, I mean, they come in hot and they're going to keep riding it.
A 1-2 from Brogdon to Olsen. Very high, and for a lot of the year, it looked like the Braves were going to have to go through that wild card series.
Oh, it was in almost a statistical
impossibility.
Yes,
it was close. 10.5 game deficit is the 3rd largest blown lead ever that the Mets experienced. And it's as much the Braves doing as it was the Mets. Mets were not bad at all.
Yeah,
for much of that time. Full count.
I saw something that, just to talk about how complete the year was for the Atlanta Braves. They never got swept all year.
Amazing, right?
Not in one series. So it just tells you the consistency of Brian Snitker's club and what they went through last year That's why whether they win or lose this game, nothing's going to bother them after what they went through last year alone.
Somebody told you, maybe it was this graphic told you, we're not swept in a series this year. First time that's happened for any team in the majors in almost 2 decades. And we talked about them being 23 and 27 at the end of May. Well, that night, Brian Snitker said he couldn't sleep, and he's not a guy that likes to hold meetings, but the next morning he had a meeting and he said, we just all need to be reminded from time to time. You get in the long season that is a major league season about doing what we're supposed to be doing, playing the way we're supposed to play. And it was a simple message. Don't forget what you're here for. Don't forget being a pro. And they won 14 in a row from that point, and neck and neck with the Dodgers for the best record in baseball from that point forward.
Yeah. The other oddity of that, they hadn't won or lost 3 in a row up until that point. Right. They blew by that real quick. And then the Phillies did the same thing with a new manager. I think they won, what, 10 in a row when he took the helm? It's a nice beginning.
8 pitch to Matt Olson is ball 4.
The other rarity is the Phillies could be pitching in a game that they win where they walk an exorbitant amount of batters. Rarely do you, what is that, 6?
6.
Rarely do you get to that point. 6 walks, not even finished through 5. Again, you'd look and say, well, that team's given up some runs. Solo home run, that's it.
Right. Yeah, so the Braves have 6 walks and 1 home run. The Phillies have 1 walk and no home runs. You'd figure, okay, so you know those stats. Who's up 7-1? Be a pretty easy guess the other way.
For sure.
The ball on Contreras. Noah Syndergaard now with the Phillies. Contreras bounced into a double play with the bases loaded in the first inning. And it's down the pipe here.
And again, I go back to that because I said it immediately. That pitch, 3-2, bases loaded, 2-0 game, could very well be the pitch of the game that changes the series and possibly this game for the Philadelphia Phillies. And so far it is. That double play, huge.
Contreras down the line. That's a fair ball. Ricochets in front of Schwarber. Olsen into third. Contreras has a double. And the Braves in business once again.
Well, this could turn into a classic, but it's taken a long time to get to this point.
Yeah, they're teasing us.
They're teasing. Phillies are the only ones happy right now, as they should be, 7-1. A lot of trips to the mound, a lot of 3-2 counts. But the Phillies are taking advantage of everything to this point.
A mound visit and a word from Roman.
When it comes to your health, what you do next matters most. Roman, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Well, the Braves have stranded 7 runners over the first 4 innings. The only inning where they haven't had a man in scoring position is the inning they scored it. A home run from Travis d'Arnaud. Loaded the bases in the first and in the third. Didn't score. But 2 on last inning, didn't score, and same thing here.
So far, 2 for 2 on pitching coach mound visits. They've made really good execution after that. See if it's 3 for 3. They don't have to hold the Braves scoreless here. If I'm Brogdon, I'm not trying to pitch. I mean, I'd love to not give up a run, but you just don't want to get that crooked inning, that number that gets you back, half back, or 7-3, 7-4. So if you give up 1, big deal. And maybe that's part of the conversation, like get some outs, prevent the big inning.
Explosive Braves offense. d'Arnaud, who's got the home run today, takes ball 1.
I will say, though, the Braves, to my memory, I don't know this factually. Probably shouldn't say that as a broadcaster. But it seems like every 3-2 big count, they've expanded the zone. They went out of their character and swung outside except for that first one where they didn't swing and miss and hit into a double play.
Darno down the line, a fair ball that'll drive in 2. Darno has knocked in all 3 runs for Atlanta. A 7-3 game as he doubles home a pair.
Well, that's huge for the Atlanta Braves and Darno, because now you've got the 2 runs in you needed, and you got a guy in scoring position to cut the deficit to 3. Another slider slash cutter that just backed up and hit inside the bag in third base for easy double, really.
Boy, these are going to be long relay races for both bullpens. Both starters failing to get into the 5th inning today. 7-3 as Arcia comes up, takes a wicked cut, and fouls it into the glove.
Well, plus the score always changes how you manage your bullpen, where your leverage guys are, and if you can bring them in, even if you don't win the game, you get to see, every time you get to see more guys in a short series, the better it is for the other team.
Brett Hand was warming earlier. He warms again. Ranger Suarez and Max Fried both left the game in the 4th inning. Which bullpen can get to that finish line? As the Phillies had a 6-run lead to enjoy. Couple against Brockton here in the 5th.
And again, not to beat this drum, it started with a walk. You can't walk guys with big leads in any game, yet alone a postseason. They usually come back to haunt you.
Well, to your point, the Braves this season had 17 games where they walked this many times. They won 15 of those 17.
The numbers are just in your favor. I mean, it was almost, I mean, if the Braves have any chance to win this game, it was going to be this inning. They had to score. Like, you had to put something on the board, get the crowd back in it, get your team more locked.
And you can hear the crowd coming to life for the first time in a while as the count goes 2-2 on Arcia. Orlando Arcia, below average hitter during the regular season throughout his career, but he's been a monster in the postseason. A lot of that with the Brewers. Off of the bench for the Braves during the World Championship run last year. Back on a 2-year contract. And he's been key for him with Ozzie Albies out for a lot of the year.
I didn't think we'd get to this point to be able to talk about it, but in another hour we're going to find out what tomorrow's games, when that shadow comes in.
You're right. That's the loudest take I've ever heard. Listen to this next one. Full count. (3-2). Arcia fouls it back. You got to follow that up by doing something big, don't you? Come on.
Well, if you hit this ball the way you want to, you could do something.
Yeah. Right. If you do that on ball 3, what are you doing if you come up with a run-scoring hit near Orlando?
Right.
Two in the bank here in the 5th. 3-2 to Arcia. Taken for ball 4. And he does show his energy and his emotion after taking the walk. So these Braves not going away without a fight. They've scored a couple in this inning to cut it to 7-3. They've got them in 1st and 2nd. They've got Michael Harris coming up. And he'll face a new pitcher for the Phillies. Playing for the Stockbridge High School Tigers.
Yeah, he's had an amazing year. Well, he's going to have to get a fastball to hit, otherwise a hanging slider, because a lot of sliders out of hand. That was the pitch right there, coming into that situation. Gutsy pitch by hand, but now he's allowed himself the luxury to expand the zone if he wants with that kind of signature pitch that he has in that slider. So coming up there, that would have been the one really for Michael Harris.
2 on 1 out, and an 0-1 pitch from hand. Harris takes the slider. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You'll see a lot of them too, and it's late. He's got late break to it.
Well, Hand missed the end of the regular season with an elbow issue. This is his first game since September 20th. The 3-time All-Star, first season with the Phillies. Into a jam here in the 5th. Home with a 1-1. Harris takes in the dirt for ball 2.
Well, the problem with that is they're nowhere close to entice Harris to swing the bat, right? That's coming out of the hand. Right out of the hand, it's a ball. And the goal of every pitcher is to make that pitch look like a strike, but end up a ball.
The 2-1. Ripped to right center field. Veerling in the move. He'll get there. Headed to third is Darno, and they're at the corners with 2 out. Matt Veerling covers a lot of ground to haul that one in.
Well, that was the fastball he got to hit, and what a great break Veerling got on this ball. Fastball center cut, and it looked like off the bat it might get a gap, but he covered it quickly and really made it seem simple, and he made a hard play look pretty easy.
Well, from one 21-year-old rookie to another, here is Vaughn Grissom, also promoted straight from Double-A. Hit a home run over the Green Monster in his first big league game. Playing time's diminished lately. He had been the everyday second baseman for a while, but he's handed that off to Arcia. Pinch hitting out of the 9th spot for Robbie Grossman, and he takes a strike.
Well, he'll have to do the same thing. He'll have to pick out that slider that looks like it's starting in the right-handed batter, left-handed batter box, and comes back over the plate. What a position to be put in to pinch hit in your first chance to play in the postseason.
On an 0-1. Couldn't lay off, and it's quickly 0-2.
It's so hard to tell yourself as a hitter, if that starts down the middle, I got to let it go. But every hitter still wants to hit the fastball, and so when it comes out of his hands, you think it's a fastball, and that tight late spin breaks below the barrel of the bat.
Well, Brian Snitker played his gut, which was to give Arcia the job at second down the stretch, but playing his gut here too. Pinch hitting for the switch hitter Grossman, who is good against lefties. The 0-2. Ball 1.
Well, you know a pitch is good when you see it 5 times in an at bat, and some hitters just can't hit it. That's when you know a pitch is good, because typically you wouldn't show that pitch that many times to any one hitter.
Yeah, most pitches are good in how they work off the other pitches. This one in a vacuum, really tough. On a 1-2 pitch, the rookie Grissom takes in the dirt, and the count evens up. Darno has knocked in 2. He's knocked in all 3 for the Braves today. But knocked in 2 with a double here in the 5th. He's at third. Arcia's at first. And Acuna's on deck. With a 2-2 coming to Vaughn Grissom. And throws. Grissom swings and misses, and that's the inning. But the Braves get a couple on a double from Darno, and it's 7-3 after 5 in game 1.
At Truist Park with Braves manager Brian Snitker. Brian, some frustrating at-bats early, much better that last half inning.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think the 5-day layoff had?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses or anything. We left a lot of guys out there. I mean, we're getting guys on. We just can't get that big hit. But they, like I said, all these guys had live at-bats and all that. So I think it's more of a credit to the opposition than our lack of doing anything.
Bullpen obviously rested. Game is within reach now. How do you manage it the rest of the way?
We're probably going to try. We got 4 cracks at them, so we're going to try and go for it here. And like I say, they got 5 days off, and they're only going to pitch 2 in a row without having a day off. So, we'll try and keep it where we can give our offense another crack at them.
And might we see Spencer Strider game 3?
No. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that we might. I don't know. It's always a possibility.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Kenny, there is Strider, who is set to throw a real soft side session today. See where he was at. Eddie Rosario's into the game in left field, and so they used 2 guys in that one move there, pinch hitting out of the 9 spot, and then Rosario comes on to replace Grissom, so plug him 9th in the order. 2, 3, and 4 for the Phillies, leading 7-3.
Yeah, the Phillies are going to have the same approach. Add on if they can, create more separation. The Braves have to pitch perfectly now out of the pen to keep the game right here. I mean, their chances of winning go way down if they give up any more runs, to state the obvious.
We got a football score here, and a strikeout for Lee of Hoskins. Today's telecast is sponsored by MasterCard and by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. 1993 National League Championship Series. You didn't need to be reminded.
I don't know what happened. I just blacked out. What happened? Did we show something?
You don't want me to tell you. We don't want to have to see the video and have me tell you about it, do you? Just go with the video.
Oh, I remember it vividly.
I figure you do. You remember random bottom of the 3rd inning in 1997 too. So
well, that's what happens when you're a pitcher. You got all this time.
1 ball, no strikes on JT Realmuto, who's reached twice and scored twice. That is the only postseason meeting between these teams prior to this year. Phillies won that National League Championship Series before losing the World Series on Joe Carter's walk-off home run. And we welcome inside. So, I mean, 14 postseasons. You pitched in more than 40 postseason games. You're talking about looking forward to seeing what Philly's like on Friday. And I know you've heard you talk about those environments were some of the toughest to go as a visiting
Unbelievable.
player.
1993 for just a, I know it's a different stadium, but same city. I mean, it was awful as a visitor. I mean, and that's what a home crowd's supposed to do. I mean, this team has been in a drought, and the city's been waiting a long time. Not to mention the Philadelphia Eagles are undefeated. The city's on fire, and when this team comes back, you're going to see a playoff atmosphere. Maybe that rivals the old Yankee Stadium kind of crowd. That's how long they've got pent up that they want their team to be successful.
Back-to-back Ks for Lee. Yeah, it can be when they feel good about their teams. It can be a hard place to play no matter the context.
Right.
But then you talk about the gap. The longest drought in the National League snapped. Their first postseason game coming up since 2011.
And they love the player that gives them the effort, right? And I'll tell you, even with Alec Bowman, his mistake, and him owning it, he went from booed to beloved, and he's really not looked back since. He made a mistake and got caught saying something after having a brutal 2 innings defensively, making some errors early in the year, and look, he owned it. And that crowd and that fan base, now they love him. Yep. And he's been unbelievable. It was a tough moment for this young man because it can be brutal if you're not performing and don't show the effort in that home stadium. And I'm not saying he didn't show the effort, it just was a mistake. So it can work both ways, much like the bullpens. And we'll talk about it when we get there Friday. Those were not the intended spots of the bullpens for each team. They had to move them. because we're too close to the home bullpen.
Bryce Harper sends one in the air to deep left center field, back towards the wall and off it. Harper's on his way to second, his second hit of the game. And Bryce Harper, so far in the postseason, looking as good as he has in a long time.
Yeah, staying on the ball. You can almost see almost concerted effort. Now, those two hits the other way have gone off of left-handers. But when Bryce Harper is right, he can go to every part of the ballpark. Now, he pulled that home run in St. Louis, mammoth shot. Look how long he waits. And he gets an outside pitch that he just smokes to the opposite field.
And you hear a lot of hitters say when they start going the other way with authority, like we've seen Harper do those couple times today, that's when they know. That's when they know they're about to take off. What could these Phillies look like if he indeed does? Dylan Lee leaves in a 7-3 game in the 6th. The Dodgers, they scuffle coming out of the gates, and we're 10.5 back at the end of May. And those rookies we've been talking about emerged and came up, had their opportunity. Best record in the majors since June 1st, beginning with that 14-game winning streak and finishing in a lot of ways with the sweep over the Mets to win the division last time they were here. Nick Castellanos goes up the middle. Arceus there. And it takes Colin McHugh just one pitch to finish off the 6th. A bit early, but top of the order here for the Braves. So Rob Thompson goes to his most overpowering reliever.
Yeah, he's overpowering. You saw the fastball already in 6-5, and he's trying to take care of the top of the order where the Braves have a chance. So he's taking leverage and putting it against their leverage.
We've got a couple overpowering guys down there. You've got Dominguez, you've got Alvarado. But again, without David Robertson out on the roster after injuring his calf. Zach Eflin, since returning from the injured list, has become a key component and has saved a couple games over the last week plus. Acuna sends one in the air to the left field corner. Just got under this one. It's Schwarber with room. So Acuna is retired for the first time today.
You know, there's two schools of thought on a guy that comes in the game and his first two pitches were nowhere close. The tendency is to make him throw a strike, but Acuna was trying to put a point on the board there on a 2-0 pitch, just missed it.
One gone, 6th inning. Here is Dansby Swanson. Well, Dominguez, last time he pitched Saturday in the clinching game of the wild card series, he was in the 8th inning. Cardinals had the tying run up, and they had a couple MVP candidates coming up in Goldschmidt and Arenado, and he struck them both out. So really doing a lot to solidify the back end of that bullpen. Somebody who missed time late with a triceps issue, and it took him time before he really trusted it again, and it didn't quite look right final couple weeks of the regular season. So it was really encouraging for the Phils what he looked like Saturday. Oh, I mean, that's 100 moving like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the stuff. It's whether he can locate it. And the strike zone sometimes disappears on him, but when you throw it with that much movement, the hitter doesn't have much time to recognize that that's going to end up as a ball. And early on, Swanson's having a tough go at it. 3 strikeouts in the day and 1 more away from 4.
There is his first career 4 strikeout game in the postseason. Two up, 2 down, 6th inning. Enjoy the thrill of the postseason with the MLB app. Get daily lineups, live pitch-by-pitch coverage, and more in our free app with over 150,000 reviews. Download the MLB app today. 2 gone, 6th inning. Austin Riley is 0 for 2 with a walk. Dominguez missed almost 2 full years following Tommy John surgery. Just 1 game over the last 2 seasons. And came back this year. Velocity's ticked up steadily. Even with the injury that he dealt with in September, you still see him hitting 100. And if the Phillies bullpen can be strong, this is a terrifying team, and you've touched on it.
No, and they don't have to be that great from a length until today, right? The starter didn't go long enough, but you know Wheeler typically goes 6, 7, 8. Nola 6, 7, 8. So it really has to be short spurts. The longer they have to cover innings for either club, it gets more difficult because you're expecting every guy to be on point every time they come in. It only takes one guy not to command the ball. Of course, you got to face 3 guys minimum. So you can get yourself into a little bit of a jam if one of those relievers don't come in and do what they're capable of.
Well, the key in the wild card series is that Wheeler and Nola both went into the 7th inning, and they only had to use their top guys out of the pen. 1-2. 1-2-3. Sir Anthony Dominguez take a bow against the top of the order.
Just tell Siri, turn on Do Not Disturb.
Colin McHugh's back out there. Needs just one pitch to finish off the 6th inning. That's ball 1 to Alec Bohm. 7-3 Phillies in front. 2 in the 1st, 2 in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th today. And Bohm has knocked in 2. Big bouncer over the mound. It's going to be a tough play for Dansby Swanson. Bare hand play, and he gets him. On a day where he has struck out 4 times at the plate. Great defensive play for the first out of the 7th.
Yeah, certainly you can tell is not affecting his defense as a professional. You know, he'd like to have a better offense, but Dansby's defense is way underrated if you ask me, and certainly that stock has gone up as the year unfolded for him as free agent next year.
A pretty good case he's putting together heading into free agency. Gene Segura with 1 away takes a strike from McHugh. Segura's 2 for 3, knocked in a run with a single, doubled and scored. 3 hits in his first 3 games in the postseason after 11 years without reaching this point. There's more games than any active player had played without playing in the postseason. This is a guy who's been traded all over the place. He went to the Phillies, thought, okay, now I'm in a place where I can win, because they've been knocking on that door for a long time, teasing Phillies fans for a long time. Finally breaking through this year.
I mean, as much as last year defensively, they just weren't a very good team. And it's hard to hide. You know, if you talked about it earlier, slugging can cover a lot of your weaknesses, but if you only got to cover one weakness, that's okay.
Chase from Segura, strikeout from McHugh.
But last year they had to cover way too much, and it showed up in ways where, you know, they care not to talk about it, and they've made adjustments, and defense has been much better, and therefore it equates to a team that's gotten this far in the postseason.
Looked like last year might be the year. They finally got a winning record. First winning season since the last postseason trip in 2011. But they were in first place in mid-August before the Braves came flying back. It's a strike on Veerling. And they were within a game and a half with a week left, but they lost 6 of 7 to finish. And they did what they've done in recent years this offseason, brought in some more big names. You know, first it was Harper and Real Muto, then it was Wheeler, then this offseason Schwarber and Castellanos.
101.
And it's finally paid off here.
If my memory serves me, you know, Schwarber started out slow, and then he caught his groove. Of course, tremendous power hitter. And in that ballpark, well, it really doesn't matter any ballpark. He can hit him out of anywhere.
Veerling with a line shot to center that will hang up for Harris. So Colin McHugh, nice work out of the Braves pen, has retired all 4 that he's faced. 4:30 Eastern tomorrow, and then it shifts to Philadelphia Friday and Saturday. 4:30 first pitch on Friday, and the first postseason game in Philadelphia since 2011. And the pitching matchup tomorrow with Zach Wheeler, who's been awesome for the Phillies, and Kyle Wright, the major league leader with 21 wins. Matt Olson against Sir Anthony Dominguez. Grounds the first one into short right field where Gene Segura is waiting, and Matt Olson curses the shift as he makes the right turn back to the dugout. Kind of ball that might be a hit again next year.
It definitely will be a hit again next year.
First time they've retired Matt Olson today. 1 gone in the 7th, and up comes Contreras.
Well, you know how important this game is. I don't know how many times Sir Anthony Dominguez has gone 2 innings, but this game is that important to the Phillies manager and their team, because they're going to do whatever they can to lock this thing down.
I'm here to help you with that. 6 times.
6 times.
Never more than 1 2/3 though.
Okay. Well, he looks sharp enough to handle 6 outs, no doubt.
Right there, 0-2. Man, a chase way out of the zone from Contreras. 2 gone in the 7th. Today's telecast is sponsored by Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. Recognize one of those numbers in there. I mean, I recognize all the numbers. I've seen these numbers before, but there's a special one down there. Travis d'Arnaud has knocked in all 3 runs for the Braves today. The Hall of Famer, 29, John Smoltz.
Still pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. Well, this has been hitters' advantage with the day game and the sun, and everything about today has been, you could tell the hitters have looked locked in. Tomorrow might be a little bit different of an atmosphere, and about, I don't know, 18, 19 minutes from now would be the start of tomorrow's game. And we'll get kind of a sense, if it's a similar day, what kind of shadows the hitters are going to deal with against 2 great pitchers.
Yeah, hard enough already facing Wheeler and Wright.
Well, with 2 strikes, he's been going to that wipeout slider. See if he does it again. After throwing a fastball away, he's been locked in. Only 17 pitches so far to get through almost 2 innings.
And on the verge of going 2 innings for the first time since before Tommy John surgery 3 years ago. Into center field. There's Vierling. There's a 1-2-3 7th. He goes 6 up and 6 down. Sends this game to the 8th inning, where the Phillies will bring 9-1-2 to the play. That includes a debut for 28-year-old Jackson Stevens. He's in the major leagues with Cincinnati a few years back, but Braves found him kind of off the scrap heap. He hadn't pitched in the major leagues since 2018. In fact, more recently, he pitched in indie ball, and he comes on here for the 8th inning, facing 9-1-2. Edmundo Sosa starting in the 9 spot at shortstop today. Has a double and a walk, and he's knocked in a run with a sac fly.
We've already seen his curveball. He throws that second most to his fastball, and then his changeup comes into play with an occasional slider. Kind of falls away from his delivery, but creates an illusion. As long as you stay balanced over the rubber, you can kind of have that fall away without it affecting your command. See, as a hitter, he throws and then just kind of falls over towards first base.
Breaks his bat, rolled it to short for Dansby Swanson, and Sosa's retired. 1 gone in the 8th. Don't miss a thing this postseason. Follow at MLB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with everything baseball. Now, Kyle Schwarber is still looking for his first hit of the postseason, and if you had told the Phillies that Schwarber would be 0 for 11 with 5 Ks, you probably weren't feeling great about how the offense was doing. But they sweep the Cardinals, and today 7 runs on 11 hits as a team, getting nothing from Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he's shown what he can do for a 3-week period for the Nationals. What he did when Harper went out, the power numbers he can put, he can get locked and get in short spurts where it's just like unfair.
A lot of times that's come in the postseason. This guy's playing in his 38th postseason game today. The 5 home runs as a rookie in 2015, even more impressive the next year. As the Cubs won the World Series. I know you talk about that as one of the most impressive things you've ever seen. Man. He missed the whole year, shows up for the World Series and reaches in half his plate appearances.
Yeah, I'd love to know what that actually did to him long term, though, right? I mean, just a phenomenal feat to come in. And that just shows you how athletic he is and how good his hand-eye was. But I think going before that injury, he was more of an average power guy. Now he's become pretty much a power guy. The average has kind of suffered, and he's, I wouldn't say selling out for all power, but takes a lot of pitches, works the count, looking for one to drive.
And a 1-2 hole here, and takes a ball. Last year traded to Boston midseason and was key for them as a leader, key performing. He had a home run against Garrett Cole in the wild card game. One of the 9 that he's hit in his postseason career.
Nope, that's outside.
Wrapped around the plate, full count. Three-2 to Kyle Schwarber is another breaking ball and slapped down the line, out of play.
The reason I say I don't know, what that injury did, that knee injury, because he's a guy that hits so much with his legs. Like everyone hits with their legs, but that lower half and squatting into his legs and really being, that complete power hitter. I'm sure he's adjusted over time and had to make many adjustments since that injury, trying to stay locked in that lower half.
Kyle's in his 8th season now. He's an all-star for the 2nd time this year. On another payoff pitch, it's a fly ball to center field for Michael Harris. And for Jackson Stevens, 2 up and 2 down here in his postseason debut. A strong lower half you're talking about.
It really is, and it starts there. And when that's good, and of course the timing of your hands, it's similar to golf with this big time difference of balls moving, but you got to have the swing plane and the technique between, I call it your knees, working your way up. Got to have that athletic balance to be able to hit.
By the way, congrats on your 11th hole-in-one yesterday.
Oh, well, thank you for noticing.
Yeah, well,
you wouldn't have known if I didn't tell you.
Exactly. Strike on Hoskins. 11 hole-in-ones.
11, yeah. It was great.
There's no way that there are even many pros out there that have 11 hole-in-ones in their life.
Well, in fairness, they don't play as much as me.
Which is also shocking. Let's listen to that statement.
They practice.
0-2 to Hoskins. Reese is 1 for 4. He got his first hit of the postseason in the 4th inning. It was a double, and he came in to score.
I've always liked this guy's swing when he came into the league. I thought it was perfect for that ballpark. Of course, he had some, he got hit in the face. He's had his share of injuries.
Down on a high fastball here, and Jackson Stevens goes 1-2-3. Braves' pen has retired 10 of the last 11 fills.
Field that maybe doesn't come into play as much as it would here.
Bottom third of the Braves order, looking for their largest comeback of the year. The biggest comeback during the regular season was 3 runs. They trailed this one 7-1. Orlando Arcia takes ball 1 from Alvarado. Well, if that's not encouraging for them, they can look on the other side and see a Phillies team that has blown 7-run leads twice. Happened against the Mets on May 5th. Happened on August 29th in Arizona. It's a strike, and it's 1-1.
It's 100 miles an hour. I mean, this is got some power from Dominguez, and of course here now from a left-hander.
Yeah, you can see those shadows you're talking about now, perfectly positioned right between the mound and the plate. Perfect if you're Alvarado.
Oh, best time to pitch in the world right now.
That's strike 2. Check swing, went around, one away. Garcia, whose voice we heard on his walk earlier, we hear frustration with a strikeout. That is 9 in a row retired by Phillies bullpen.
Yeah, they've kind of sucked the life out of any kind of rally situation. They've thrown strikes, which their collective staff has not done up until this point, and it's been quick outs and dominant outs.
Alvarado, who's got the 3rd highest strikeout rate in the National League, strikes out Arcia, now faces Michael Harris and misses low. So for the Braves tomorrow, it's going to be the National League and Major League leader with 21 wins and Kyle Wright. Game 3 on Friday is still TBD. Kind of in pencil right now, it's Charlie Morton, but could it be Spencer Strider? Even if it is, you're not probably going to get a full length from Strider, who's been out since mid-September with the oblique issue. And Morton, you love the postseason track record, but he's not been himself in the second half this year.
No, he hasn't. Uncle Charlie is what he's known for, throwing that spinning breaking ball, and nobody spins it as good as he does. But Nola's second closest.
Bounce to 3rd, where Bohm is playing in front of the bag to get Harris. 2 gone in the 8th. Kenny, what do you think?
Well, Joe, Strider has not pitched since September 18th due to that strained left oblique muscle. The Braves can't send him on a rehab assignment, right? They just have to have throwing bullpen sessions. So really, they don't know what they will get, what his command will look like, how sharp he will be if they use him in Game 3, whether it's as an opener, as a reliever, maybe even as an abbreviated starter. That's the problem right now. They love Spencer Strider. Everybody loves Spencer Strider. But it's a little bit of a mystery what he will bring.
And as it always is in the postseason, probably see where they're at going into that game in terms of the number of wins in the series. Marcell Ozuna pinch hitting out of the 9th spot for Rosario. Ozuna, who was an MVP candidate in the short 2020 season, led the National League in home runs, has not been the same guy in the 2 years since, although over the final month he hit .321. He had an OPS above 900. And works off of the bench today with the bases empty. 2 gone in the 8th. Go get him, Marcell. Go out into those shadows and face Alvarado.
Yeah, TV does make it a little worse if you're viewing at home, but it is the one thing hitters talk about. You go from light to a darker shade, and that is hard to pick up spin, hard to pick up the ball, because the difference in the two.
Bohm's got it. And that is another 1-2-3 inning for Phillies relievers. They've retired 11 straight here in Game 1. JT Realmuto leads off this 9th inning for the Phillies. Marcell Ozuna, after pinch hitting, stays in, plays left. Then Jackson Stevens, after 1-2-3-8, delivers ball 1. Realmuto 1 for 4. He's reached a couple times and scored twice. Phillies raced out of the gates with 4 straight 2-out base hits in the first inning against Max Fried. They got 2 more in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th.
I'm just telling you, the way they scored those runs were so deflating that they could have scored those, let's just say a double, 2-run homer, solo home. They wouldn't have been. There's a perception when you get 2 outs and you're so close to having a clean inning, and then you walk into that dugout like we talked about earlier. Those are punch to the guts. And you know what? Credit the Phillies. They did what they had to do in every scoring situation today.
And against Max Fried, who had been touched in a long time, came in 3rd in the National League in ERA. Phillies got 6 runs on 8 hits. That was in 3 1/3.
And they did it in a less than sexy exit velocity style, right? I mean, only really 3 balls that were hit extremely hard, but that's the beauty of our game. It doesn't take rockets. It's just placing it.
Stevens saw a couple of the big dogs bunting. Full count on Realmuto. Saw some bunts, 2 sacrifice flies. Real Muto leads off the ninth, and he's down swinging. And Stevens has returned all 4 that he's faced. Predict which winners will stack the most total bases each day during the postseason. Compete to win $50 grand. You can enter MLB Base Chase in the MLB Play app or through MLB.com/play. Restrictions apply. See official rules for details. One of the biggest developments in this game for the Phillies, besides the obvious of maybe taking a 1-0 series advantage, the emergence of a couple key bats in the middle. Bryce Harper's looked really good. Nick Castellanos has 3 hits.
Yeah, those are the guys. I mean, when you're in the middle of the lineup, you need those guys to produce. How many times are we going to say 2 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt?
For him,
with
not too often.
Bryce Harper, and that just goes to show you. I mean, this team feels like they are good enough to make a long run. And they feel like they're good enough to knock off the defending World Series champs.
Oh, and 2 on Harper. Now, they met during the regular season a bunch. Division opponents, 19 head-to-head meetings. Braves won 11 of those 19. But you look at just total runs scored, almost a dead heat. 88-85, the runs scored. Punches one past the mound. Stevens gets it, but can't pull the trigger. And Harper's got an infield hit. He's 3 for 3 with a bunt and an infield hit. This is the pitch before. I can't see it. And then he saw it well enough to do that. Placed it well. As soon as he gets on, the sun goes behind the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Castellanos, 3 hits, 3 runs knocked in. Flies it to center for Harris. And 2 gone in the 9th. Well, it was the bottom of the order that produced a lot of the offense in St. Louis. Heart of the order today, 10 for 20. Knocking in 6 of the 7 runs, including 2 from this man here, Alec Bohm.
They've been aggressive and opportunistic, and the 2 have worked. Sometimes they don't. The aggression can get you in trouble. You can expand the zone, give the pitcher a bunch of easier outs. But their aggression and opportunistic approach has worked because they've found the hits they needed and didn't try to do too much.
And that was apparent first pitch of the game, right?
Absolutely.
Schwarber swung, and the whole first inning attacked Fried.
I mean, we did a game here not too long ago, and the Braves had not, and I'm assuming they still have not had a sacrifice bunt all year. And it's the Braves offense is going to be a little bit different than the Phillies offense. But the Phillies came in here and said, whatever, we're going to take whatever you're giving us. And that means the shift. We're going to bunt, try to bunt against the shift and put pressure on you.
Bohm serves it into shallow center. Harris comes on, puts it away, sends this game to the bottom of the 9th. Braves will try and make some magic with the top of the order coming up, down 4. These teams will play game 4, assuming it's necessary. Top of the order for the Braves in this 9th. Ronald Acuna had an encouraging first game of the postseason. Hit the ball hard a couple times, 2 for 3.
Yeah, we talked in the open that both Acuna and Harper, if they got going, that would give each team a leg up. Well, Harper certainly has gotten going, and they have the temporary leg up in this series.
That's a sinker. That's a grounder. Picked by Segura, but his throw is late, and it's an infield hit for Acuna to open the 9th. First base runner for the Braves since the 5th. And 3rd hit of the day for Ronald.
This almost was an incredible play. I mean, I didn't think they had a chance when he first hit it with the speed of Acuna, but Segura made a nice play. and made it closer than I thought it could even possibly be.
Leadoff man on. Dansby Swanson coming up. He would like to change the flavor of this day. First career 4 strikeout game in the postseason for Swanson. And he takes ball 1 from Eflin. Well, Zach Eflin, a career starter, has missed much of this year with a knee issue. Came back in mid-September, but the Phillies knew that they weren't going to have time to build him up as a starter, so they said, let's go see how this looks in the bullpen. And it has looked good. Got his first career save in the clinching game last Monday. Saved game 2 with a wild card round. And Rob Thompson says he's just got no heartbeat. He's always the same. One of the qualities you obviously want in a guy high leverage.
Well, he just threw a nasty pitch right down the middle that got called for ball 2. So we'll see what the approach is for Swanson. Down 4, 2-0 count.
Pokes on the right, sends Castellanos back. It's over his head, and it's off the base of the wall. Swanson holds on with a long single. Back-to-back singles to open the 9th for Atlanta.
Well, that approach, staying on the ball, thinking right field. First contact of the game for Swanson. You just wonder if that'll get him going into tomorrow. If he tries to pull this ball, it's a swing and a miss or a double play. And he gets good wood on it. Of course, the ball carries to right field. And Acuna had to make sure not do anything crazy. But that ball wasn't caught. One more batter, tying run at the plate.
Austin Riley, Olsen's the man on deck. Strike 1. Phillies relievers had retired 11 straight before these back-to-back hits to open the 9th inning.
And the shadow's gone, right? Consistent now. The hitter can see the same flavor from the pitcher as opposed to earlier in the game or earlier in the inning there. Tough to see.
0-2. 7 pitchers for the Phillies today. Suarez went just 3 1/3.
I know when Eflin was pitching, the numbers and analytics told him to throw 4-seam fastballs up. That's not his game plan. He's a 2-seam heavy sinker, and that's where he's trying to live right now, trying to get the ball on the ground here out of Riley.
Good take.
That's a nasty pitch on the outside corner, and that's the pitch you make with 2 strikes. Just off the corner.
Austin Riley, the 25-year-old, that just keeps on getting better. 2 on, nobody out in the 9th inning. 1-2 from Zach Eflin. He's down swinging on a sharp breaking pitch for the first out. 3rd strikeout of the day of Riley.
Started this one at the height of the fastball, and then it disappears out of the zone. Gave him a different look. Change of speed, breaking ball. You know, going into that Mets series, those 3 hitters, Swanson, Riley, Olsen, all were going through a cold spell, and they got hot in that series. But this month, the latter part of the season, has been kind of rough to those 3 guys.
Olsen's had a good game today. A couple walks and a single. He takes a strike. And again, the last few innings, not much traffic, but before that, they were dotting the bases with runners and with chances, but have gone 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position today. Acuna's about 1/3 of the way up the line at 3rd. Swanson's at 1st. Eflin deals, and Olsen takes ball 1.
Yeah, it always is interesting. If this was would the Phillies play this scenario in a close game with a runner on 3rd? Because you could almost, any ball that's in the dirt, any kind of scenario, the amount of distance you can get as a runner because there's no one to defend the 3rd base. And can I tell you how eerie it is to have a pitcher looking out of your peripheral? Like you're seeing the runner in a perfect straight line halfway down the line. You never see that.
Right. So, I mean, from Acuna's standpoint, there is no reason to do this other than that.
Other than that, that's exactly right. I mean, they can't throw back behind him. He has no fear that they're going to throw behind him because it's 150 feet from the next guy to the bag.
Eflin can look over there and say, you don't matter one bit, Ronald, but it's one thing to tell yourself that.
He can now, but I'm saying if it's a one-run game,
sure,
that would be intense because of the opportunities that would exist.
Two and two. Olsen trying to get the tying run to the plate. Fly ball center field sends Marsh back onto the track at the wall. It's gone. It's not over yet. 3-run shot. Matt Olson with a 3-run home run, and it's a 1-run game in the 9th inning.
It's about the most effortless swing you're ever going to see for a ball to go over straightaway center. I mean, when it was first hit, I thought, okay, that's a sac fly. But the way Acuna looked at it, the way Matt Olson looked at it, and of course the fever pitch of which Marsh went after that ball.
We talked about a lot of the key hitters struggling down the stretch, but finding it in that Mets series. For Matt Olson, that's his 7th home run in his last 10 games back to the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and I said getting the tying run to the plate would be huge in this inning if you're the Braves. Well, the tying run's at the plate now.
Yeah.
And sometimes in these scenarios, if there were traffic on the bases with the tying run at the plate, it seems more stressful than right now. Bases cleared, 1-run game. Even though it's one swing to tie the game.
A lot of the crowd on its feet as Contreras grounds it foul. This is a guy that's had a flair for the dramatic in his young major league career. Came up last year, struggled mightily. Much of April in AAA, did enough between getting called back up and the All-Star game that he started the All-Star game for the National League and has had many big hits, including 20 home runs during the regular year. Now an 0-1 from Eflin. Contreras takes a strike, 0-2. Pokes it to right. On comes Castellanos. He lays out and makes the catch. In game 1 of the division series, the Phillies have 2 sacrifice flies. They have 2 sacrifice bunts, and they just got a diving catch from Nick Castellanos, turning the world upside down.
Oh, this is a huge play. You look at double, maybe more if that ball gets by Castellanos. What a defensive play at the most crucial time. And the heartbeat of that Phillies dugout just went up a little bit.
Doing the kinds of things today that they haven't done all year.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a great series.
Darno, tying run still up there. He's knocked in 3 of the 6 runs for the Braves today, including a home run in the 2nd. Last chance for Atlanta. Bouncing ball to short. Picked up by Sosa. That's the ball game. The Phillies hang on and win game 1 7-6.
Ladies and gentlemen, final score of today's game was Brave 6.
Well,
here we go. Buckle up.
The Phillies
I anticipated this series being one of those where I think they're more evenly matched than people recognize. And the Phillies, again, I'm sure they didn't expect a 7-6 victory when they were up 7-1, but a victory nonetheless is what they were looking for.
Well, they strung it together, 6 relievers following Suarez. And the early offense proves to be enough. Braves fall just short in the 9th inning, and the Phillies are 3-0 in this postseason, sweeping the Cardinals and taking the critical game 1 of this series. Now they've got Wheeler and Nola lined up for 2 and 3.
Well, this is the play of the night so far, and you can make a case that ball gets by him and it's runner on third or runner on second, tying run, the winning run at the plate, and then the ball up the middle, takes his time, and a sigh of relief for the whole city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I thought I heard something.
And for the Phillies as a team, when they came in here and at least needed 1, now they're thinking 2.
And those fans waiting back in Philadelphia, been waiting a long time to have postseason baseball in their city. They're going to have it on Friday night, either with a 2-0 series lead or a chance to take a series lead. Coming up after the break, we'll get you to studio in Los Angeles. Kevin Burkhardt and the guys have post-game coverage after these messages.